Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Film is Okie Dokie. My name is CJ, and joined, as always, is my my esteemed co-host,
Tommy. I'm here. It's a bit quiet this week already without Rowdy Jade in here to
I know
liven things up.
She's not smacking her flippers around on the floor.
She's not like Tominio does.
Yeah, no, but see, Tominio, that's his feet. Jade was slapping her scuba flippers on the floor.
She was wearing scuba flippers?
No, she had them. She was
CJ,
slapping them on the floor.
Why are you looking at my partner's feet?
I wasn't. Oh my god. I'm so tired of the feet stuff. Like all the other jokes, I seriously, genuinely, I'll take all the other jokes. I'm so tired about the feet, dude.
Oh, it's so funny.
It's not.
Oh, CJ, how you been?
I've been all right. It's been like well, we actually have gotten into somewhat of a rhythm somehow lately, doing these like every week on the same day.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time keeping up.
It's weird. I gotta be honest. It's harder to come to every episode with like new original stuff to talk about.
That's okay. That's a week. Hey, it's, you know, heavy is the head that wears the crown, CJ.
Yeah. So. And this is obviously coming out the end of April, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we've started to keep track of when episodes. So now we know when they're coming out while they're recording. Before we were like, it's in a while, I guess. But now we know the date. Today is April 25th, 2024. Hello to you from December 9th, 2024.
Yeah, see, you did the thing where you you crossed the time barrier, and then you brought us right back by telling us what day we're recording it.
Oh, yeah.
I think like the time barrier has gotten a little shorter. I think you started it with 6 months out, and now we're like 4 months, which seems better. I gotta tell you, Tommy, I'm a little revenge movied out.
Really?
This is the end. I'm gonna take a break from revenge after this. I don't know.
have the opportunity to do the funniest thing when I choose my movie.
If you choose a revenge movie, I'm gonna be upset. Like, I'm just kind of burned out on revenge. I know I wasn't when we watched V, like I wasn't when we did that. But then when I picked The Searchers, was this before or after the United Healthcare CEO thing?
Before.
Yeah, I think that I've seen a lot of the... And I want to be very clear. I don't want to have a political conversation on this podcast. Not because I don't want to have a political conversation with Tommy, but because I don't believe that the people listening to this show want to hear us have a political conversation. So I'm going to say this. You can agree, disagree, offer your own thought on it, and then we can move on. The internet reacted in a very specific way to the news. Instantaneously. It was memes and jokes and in some ways deifying the shooter, and in a way that went from 0 to 100. In a way, as a society, I was like, yeah, I get it, but like all of Reddit teaming up to be like, yeah, I'm surprised that we haven't killed more CEOs. It's like, okay, well, I don't know. So I was kind of like, I'm kind of burned out on it a little bit. I'm kind of burned out on the vigilantism. I'm kind of burned out on the take justice in your own hands. It's just been a lot. It's been a lot. So it's not that necessarily I'm burned out on the concept forever. It's just I've heard a lot of people's take on
CJ is so over killing CEOs.
Oh my god. You are trying to get me canceled.
No, I'm just on a roll today.
Yeah. All right. Wait, do you have anything you want to add or whatever?
No, not really. I mean, I'll say I don't think the whole thing is really a political talk, because I think people on both sides of the aisle, I think people are pretty unified in how they feel about this.
I agree, but it is like, it's current events. It's topical, I guess.
Right, and we don't want to date ourselves too much. So let's stop dating ourselves talking about revenge. Revenge is a thing of the past, CJ. We've done it 4 times in a row with today.
I should
leave it.
Watch this episode, listen to this episode, because it's actually going to be a really good episode on revenge. But after this, I'm taking a break from revenge.
Wow. So that means that if I ever wanted to fuck with CJ without repercussions, now is the time, because CJ will not come back with revenge.
I do stuff I don't like all the time. What makes you think that I won't seek revenge?
You're right. You're the right kind of petty for that.
Yeah, I also, before I start my period of no revenge, I've started pre-revenge.
Ooh, what is pre-revenge?
Pre-revenge
is pre-revenge acting out so that someone gets revenge against you?
No, pre-revenge is you anticipate perceived slights, and so you act in a vengeful way, anticipating that those things are going to come to pass.
So you're playing checkers. Sorry, you're playing chess while we're all playing checkers.
Yes, I'm anticipating that someone's going to not like the Christmas gift that I gave them, so I sent them 25 pounds of sand. That's preemptive revenge.
So, hold on. You are getting revenge on someone for sending them a gift you didn't think they were going to like.
I think that they love the gift. But then, after I sent the gift, someone said, oh, they're not going to like it. And then I said, oh, well, if they don't like it, then they deserve to be punished for that.
So you're sending someone a gift they might not like. So you, instead of you reflecting and being like, maybe I should have gotten a different gift, you're sending them 25 pounds of sand as a fuck you for not liking the thing I picked out.
Hang on.
This is not how gifts work, CJ.
It's exactly how gifts work. Listen, I got them a Zen garden, okay?
Okay.
Oh,
so the sand is for the Zen garden.
Yeah, it's replacement sand.
So it's like if I bought you a coffee grinder and then shortly after found out you didn't like coffee and you weren't going to like the gift, I buy 20 pounds of coffee beans for you.
Yeah, well, I would just donate it.
So are you going to donate the sand?
I'm not going to donate the sand. I send it to them.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. The fuck am I going to donate sand for? No, they're
I don't
getting
know.
25
What
pounds
the
of
fuck
sand.
are you going to buy sand for?
I didn't realize. You don't understand. Sand is cheap. You can buy sand in bulk for cheap.
Sand price
Amazon.
per
Check it on
pound.
Amazon.
Okay. Let's see. Wow. Oh, wait. No, that's concrete. Okay.
No, you don't
Amazon,
want concrete.
Sand. It's weird typing just sand into 50-pound natural play sand. $28.
I know.
What?
Yeah, but there is a point where you're just being cruel to the letter carrier, so I don't send 50 pounds. 25 is sufficient.
Well, why don't you just send 2 boxes of 25? Oh, I see. Because if you pay for the 50 pounds, it's $27.99. But if you pay for 25 pounds twice, that's $26.62 times 2. Gonna be honest, this first Palmetto play sand, double the amount of sand for just $1 more than Sandtastic play sand. What is Sandtastic play sand putting in their sand? Goddamn spice from Dune?
So I have sent people a lot of sand in the past, and
okay.
I've bought from multiple vendors. I like the Palmetto play sand.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's quality.
It is. So you have sampled the sand yourself?
Well, I wouldn't give someone an inferior product.
Hmm.
I was thinking about sending them the turtle, like the little sandbox turtle that we all had growing up.
Oh, yeah, I love that thing.
Yeah, I was thinking about sending them that so that they could then have a sandbox.
Oh, cute. Is this a person who would have need for a sandbox?
No, it's Shuli.
Okay.
No. Shuli,
No.
Sorry. Shuli's in a wheelchair.
Wow.
No, well, actually, I'm sending them sand partially because that Lemon, her significant other, did not like my idea of sending them a donkey. Remember the donkey?
Yes, I do remember the donkey story.
So he didn't want me to send a wheelbarrow or a dolly or a donkey. So I felt insulted by that, so I sent sand. But I also sent him a Zen garden.
How big is the Zen garden?
Not very big. I estimated that the amount of sand in the Zen garden was like a cup.
Well, he's never going to run out of sand for that garden now.
Yeah.
That's going to be zenful as shit.
I also sent Shuli a 72-inch tall stuffed goose.
Okay. The Shuli like geese?
It's a plush the size of me, so I don't give a shit if she likes it or not. I just think it's really funny.
Is it a Canada goose or is it a white goose?
I don't judge by race.
I'm just asking.
Well,
I see 75-inch, very huge body fat goose stuffed animal, 6-foot duck plush toys, hugging pillow gifts on Amazon. I'm guessing this is it. So it's a white goose.
It is a white goose. I will say that surprisingly, that goose product sells out quickly. So constantly being relisted.
It's because people eat so much goose for the holidays, man.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah. We're kind of on the topic. Revenge. You said something to me the other day that I asked you a follow-up question to. You didn't actually reply to me. So
this is correct.
I'm gonna read our texts a little bit.
Okay.
All right. So where is it? You sent me pictures. So you sent me pictures of some chicken sandwiches that you made.
Yeah.
Some butter. By the way, it looked very delicious.
Thank you.
I see the spread on there. Is that like the classic chicken, like the In-N-Out or the Chick-fil-A spread type deal?
It is a homemade Raising Cane sauce.
Oh, okay. Raising Cane's. Nice, like bit like very pillowy. Bun looks like it's been toasted.
Brioche buns.
Yep,
yeah,
brioche.
Toasted brioche. Jade toasted the buns while I fried the chicken.
Nice. And on the plate looks great. And then you sent me a picture of some pizza.
Yeah, that was an accident. That was a picture from earlier in the day.
Was the pizza good?
Yeah, we were trying out a pizza at a place we had not gotten pizza from before.
Was it good?
Yeah, it was good. It wasn't perfect. We talked about we would order it a bit more specifically next time, asking for a few extra minutes in the just little things like that, but it was pretty solid to start.
You wanted to be cooked more. It looks pretty well done.
It is, but the pizza dough in the center was just a little too it was a really greasy pizza.
Oh, okay.
And with how cooked the dough was, it was too floppy. I like floppy pizza. I like a floppy slice that you have to fold, but this was a bit too floppy. So I think just like, I cook pizza. I know what I'm talking about when it comes to cooking pizza. I think like 3 more minutes in the oven would be like a desired doneness for how at least I like my pizza.
Nice. Then
so
you sent
the chicken sandwiches, yes. Yep. Chicken sandwiches, pizza picture.
You also sent me a picture. What I now know is a sweet potato.
Yes. Yeah, a couple of the plates had sweet potatoes on them.
And so I said, what's the orange thing? And I said, the sandwiches look good, though. I like making them, too. You wrote sweet potato. And then I wrote, I've never had a sweet potato before. I wrote that at 10:02 p.m. My time.
Yep.
Okay. At 10:04 p.m., you wrote, you are an enigma.
Yep.
I wrote, 2 minutes later, at 10:06, is that a compliment? You did not respond.
Correct.
What does that mean?
I just don't understand how you haven't had some of these foods before, CJ. You've never had a sweet potato. You've never had nuts, period, nuts. You've never had tacos or burritos. Never had white wine or champagne. Like, what's the deal?
I don't know. It's never come up.
I just can't believe like you've never had a nut. So when I find out that you never have had another food that I feel is pretty common for someone to have tried, I'm just like, how does this person exist?
I got a text from Jade not long after that was like, have you ever had an onion ring? Which,
that was the next day, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, of course. And then she was like, okay, good. And I was like, I passed. I was like, I passed. She's like, yeah, you passed. I'm like, good. I've had an onion ring. But I don't know. Is it that crazy that I've never encountered nuts?
Yes.
Really? Are they that abundant?
Yes. Nuts are huge.
Well, they're not that big.
Yeah, they're huge.
They're tiny.
Oh, I see. Well, I mean, you haven't seen my nuts.
Oh, hey now, you've seen my nuts though.
No, I only saw. Never mind. We can't go into the details of this.
Yeah, we can't explain that at all. Anyway, so yeah, no, I don't know. It's never come up. I've never been in a situation where someone's like, you have to eat these nuts.
Wow. There's never been just like trail mix sitting around, or a bowl of cashews, or you've never had a peanut at a ball game, or you've never had an almond.
No.
Never had a pistachio.
No.
I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't even know what they would taste like.
This is crazy to me. I'm trying to think of some other food. And maybe I'm going to ask you a couple types of foods.
Okay.
And see if you've tried them before. Have you had corn?
On the cob?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't like it, but yeah.
Okay. Have you had fish?
Yep.
Okay.
I am allergic to a lot of seafood, though.
Okay.
Which is a shame. I really like shrimp. I am allergic to it.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
Being allergic to a food you love?
Yeah, I think it was an acquired allergy. Because when I
Okay.
first started eating shrimp, I wasn't allergic to it.
Gotcha. How about guacamole?
Oh, no. I don't think
Never
so.
had guac?
Guacamole is what now? It's avocados and...
It's avocado is the base. You'll often put onion, tomato, cilantro, salt, lime. Those are kind of your core ingredients to guac.
I'll do you one better. I've had avocado once. And it was in somebody making a faux chocolate pudding.
Interesting.
Someone took like cocoa powder and avocado and made fake chocolate pudding.
Okay. Interesting.
I did not like for it. I did not care for it. It tasted like hairy potatoes.
What?
Yeah, I don't know. Go
Interesting.
on.
Have you ever had sushi?
Seafood.
Yeah, but just have you ever had sushi?
I'm allergic to seafood.
I know, but you said that you've liked some, so I was just curious.
The extent of... Okay, so once I found out I was allergic to most seafood, I stopped eating it, and I discovered that I was allergic by going to Red Lobster. So there wasn't a lot of, like, room in my life for sushi.
Gotcha. No, that's fair enough.
I will tell you that I do not care for rice.
Okay. How about... I'll do just a couple more random ones that come to my head.
Okay. Some of these things I want to point out, because some people are at home being like, you're a picky eater. Yeah, but I've had these things. I just don't like them. You know?
How about tamales? Have you ever, well, let me be real. You probably never had a tamale if you've never had a taco.
If we're going into Hispanic food, no, I've never had a tamale. I don't know what a tamale is. Is that a corn shell? What is that?
It is you wrap it in a corn husk.
I didn't know corn husks were edible.
They're not. You wrap it and you steam it while it's inside of the corn husk. It's like a dough that you make from corn, and you wrap it in a corn husk or banana leaves, I think. And you'll also have like meat in there, or sometimes cheese, herbs, stuff like that.
Okay. What else you got for me?
How do you feel about pie?
I genuinely am just not a big pie person, but
Okay.
I've had pie.
Okay, you've had it.
Yeah, I've had like apple pie, I've had chocolate pie, there used to be a really, really cool place up by the airport. It was called Grandma's. And it was this like really little shithole place, but they had amazing pie. That was like one of the places I would go get pie. They had like a peach cobbler. Well, they had some good stuff.
Have you ever had asparagus?
No.
How about cucumber?
Yes. I've
How
had it
about this?
pickled and unpickled.
Can you think of any other foods? Can you think of any other foods that you've never had that you feel like people would be surprised by?
Like would shock you?
Yeah.
I've never had salmon.
Have you ever had dumplings?
No. I've never had... I don't like soup.
Okay.
So I haven't had most soups.
Right.
I have never had pumpkin pie.
Wow.
Yeah, so every year when people are like pumpkin pie spice or whatever, I don't know what that is.
You don't know what pumpkin spice tastes like?
Nope.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I thought of one other food that I know you have not tried that blows me away. Maybe we can end talking about the foods you haven't had with this one.
Good.
CJ, you've never had grilled cheese?
That's true. Yeah.
Crazy.
It's never come up.
How is grilled cheese? It's an American staple.
My parents never made it. I've never made one myself. It's never come up.
Wow. You should try making yourself a grilled cheese, having never had one.
I don't think I have a pan for the burner.
You don't have any pans for your burner?
I don't know if I do.
You don't have any pans you can borrow?
I could probably borrow a pan. I just don't use it that often.
Because
I don't like eggs.
You don't like eggs, okay.
No. So, like, what else are you gonna... I guess I have an exterior flat top. So I have, like, a flat top grill outside. So if there's something I would make on a flat top, I would just make it outside.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You are an enigma, CJ.
Well, I still don't know if that's a compliment or not, but we'll take it.
Doesn't have... take it as one. It doesn't have to be anything. It doesn't have to be something that's a statement in any way about as to whether or not you should like being called an enigma. You should just own it. I am an enigma. Scream it.
No. The inner machinations of my mind are an enigma. All right. Short pre-show today. I want to get right into the movie.
Yeah.
I brought this movie to the table. This was my pick after having a few weeks off. Very tonally different than my last couple. I picked Birdcage and Some Like It Hot. This is not that at all. And this is The Searchers. So I guess we could start off. Have you ever seen this movie? What do you know about this movie?
I know very little about this movie. I know it's a John Wayne movie. Mm-hmm. I know that if you asked me what CJ's favorite movie is, I would say this. Because I feel like you have brought this movie up the most when we've talked about favorite movies in our friendship.
Mm-hmm. It's up there.
I know. Did I already say John Wayne is in it?
Yeah.
Okay. We're already at the bottom of the barrel for things I know. Something with the Civil War and Vengeance.
Okay.
Someone was in the Civil War and Vengeance.
They were in the Civil War. There you go.
That is about all I know. It's a Western, so I gotta say, I'm curious as to how I'll like it.
Yeah, so let's talk about why this might be a Western that people would like. First of all, there are a lot of John Wayne Westerns, and we've established this in my ability to recall them. But a lot of the John Wayne Westerns are him as the do no wrong good guy who's always right, and he rides in and saves the day, and he does a lot of killing, but he's a good guy, right? And he does that role pretty well, but it's kind of boring for him. Not boring for him to play, it's boring because his actual, as an actor, as his potential, is him in the spot of the villain or the heel, the anti-hero. A role that he didn't actually get to play all that much in his career, so when he does, it actually stands out really well. And there's this famous line, I talk about it all the time, I've probably mentioned it on the show before, it's from the movie Trumbo. All the communists are standing outside, they're listening to a speech from John Wayne, and they're kind of making fun of him, and he's giving a speech about like being American and stuff and patriotism, and they're like, why is he so good? And they say, because he's not acting. And John Wayne in real life is a complicated figure if you want him to be the person he was in his movies. And if you don't want him to be that person, he's very simple. He was married and divorced a few times. He was like every other kind of Hollywood guy at the time, but he was an American symbol of masculinity at the time. He was, the Green Beret. He was the cowboy. He was the firefighter. He was also, unfortunately, Genghis Khan. He rode in and saved the day. It was, come on, men, we're gonna go get him, right? It's like whether that's going over a ridge and fighting in World War II, or he's going to go out on his own and fight the Indians, or whatever he's going to do, like that is his character. If that's the person you want him to be, it's a complicated conversation. If you understand that people are flawed and have problems and have family issues and are just a general not great people, then he's not very complicated at all. One of the things I've struggled with for a long time is how much I like Westerns, because my dad really loved them, and growing up I watched a ton of them. And growing up, watching all the John Wayne movies and all the Clint Eastwood movies and all of the other Westerns that we had on VHS, which we had a ton, we had like more than 200 on VHS, which that was the equivalent of basically being Netflix back then. You know, having all those movies and watching them all the time, like, that's what we watched. That's what we saw. That's what I got to experience. You grow up, you learn John Wayne, not the nicest guy, not the best guy, not what you want, maybe not in line with who you want to be as a person. Maybe this person isn't the person you want to be your personal hero after all. You know, maybe things aren't as simple as just, get up on your horse and, do the right thing. Maybe there's black and white, there's gray too. And so some of the movies I really enjoyed when I was a kid, like Hondo and, like Rio Bravo or The Sons of Katie Elder, like, I don't know. The Clinic I like, but that's just a funnier movie. And then you get a little older and you watch something like The Searchers, and it reignites this for me because it's John Wayne, I almost want to say in his element of being a dickhead. I almost want to say that. It's a tighter screw. It's a harder edge. And John Ford, the director of this movie and a few other Wayne films, really knew how to get the most out of him, and did. And part of that relationship with John Ford was, like, John Wayne was larger than life to a lot of people in Hollywood, including people in Hollywood, and kind of got his way. When he did The Shootist, and I forget who directed The Shootist, but the director of The Shootist was like, hey, you're going to shoot this guy in the back. And John Wayne goes, I gotta shoot a guy in the back. And it's like, yeah, well, you're going to shoot him, and then you're going to shoot these other two guys because you got to take care of them. He's like, I don't shoot a guy in the back. And so he says, well, Clint Eastwood would shoot him in the back, and then John Wayne proceeded to rip the guy a new asshole, right? So then in the movie, the final finished movie, the guy gets up, turns around, John Wayne shoots him in the front. All of this is to say, there's John Wayne, and I really don't like when people are like, separate the art from the artist. I really don't like that because for me, it's a lot of part and parcel. I feel like there's room in some of his performances to be like, this is one of the few performances where I would actually say, just give it a watch. Give it your earnest attention. Give it an honest try, because it does have the film has something to say. The film is magnificent. It's beautiful. I mean, just especially for when it came out, it's a gorgeous film. And there is so much going on that isn't even being said in the first 5 minutes of this movie than all of the unsaid actions in the rest of John Wayne's filmography put together. Right? This is actually a film worthy of preservation, worthy of everyone's time. So I do not bring this Western to you lightly. I do not bring this Western to you without respect for the fact that I know how you feel, and it's John Wayne, and John Wayne's kind of a dickhead, right? And my own complicated history with John Wayne also influences my decision. I do not bring this to you because I am a fan of John Wayne. Also, I don't even consider myself to be one anymore. I bring this to you because I think this movie is worth everybody in the world seeing. Because I think it's a great movie.
Okay. So early on, you talked about this movie is interesting with John Wayne because he's always playing like the good guy, typically playing the good guy. And this one's a bit different since he's more complicated than that. I forget the exact words you used. You also brought up how when they were filming Trumbo or whatever, how they were like, he's so good. It's because he's not acting. He really believes all this about America, what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So do you think that this movie, like, how do you read it more? Do you think you said John Ford really knew how to get the most out of him? I guess, do you want to go more into that beforehand? Like kind of what you feel John Wayne brings to this role? You don't have to go too in depth, but I guess what is it that really sets this apart from, as someone who, yeah, I know who John Wayne is. I've seen some of his movies, but as someone not intimately familiar with John Wayne and all his John Wayneisms, who might not be able to watch this and immediately differentiate it from his other roles, how exactly do you feel it is different?
Let's start with John Ford. How did John Ford get something extra out of John Wayne? And the answer is that John Ford was his better. He was more of a man than John Wayne, and no matter where John Wayne was, every single time that John Wayne was cast in a military role, John Ford was right there to remind him that John Wayne did not serve. John Ford did. John Ford lost an eye. Jimmy Stewart did. There are a bunch of directors that went overseas during World War II and filmed. John Wayne was not part of the war effort. He did not serve. So having that constantly over your head by a man with one eye and still knowing that guy is like, he does not give a shit who you are, you know, that approach to John Wayne's like overall attitude. I've read a bunch of books about John Wayne, and depending on what kind of book it is, he's either seriously the nicest guy you've ever met or a raging butthole. So take your pick. There is a podcast that does I forget the name of it and I apologize, but they do an episode every so often. It's basically, the premise of the show is that they only do podcasts about evil people. And so there's a 3-hour podcast talking about how John Wayne is one of the most evil people in the world. And so, you know, maybe the fact that he really liked his horse that he rode to school, you know, that is offset by the fact that he's like just generally an unsavory person. Relating that back to Trumbo, why is this performance so believable? I've seen almost every other performance he's ever given. The ones where he's kind of a jerk, the ones where he has a hard edge, the ones where he is a little more morally ambiguous are so much better than anything else. It's not even fair to compare them. It's like watching performances from two different people and doing two completely different jobs. You know, in wrestling, when someone goes heel or they turn babyface, right? They're kind of the same guy. They do the same shit, right? But John Wayne, he's almost unrecognizable in this role. He's not, because he's John Wayne and he still talks like John Wayne and he's still tall and big and tan and whatever and squinty and just enormous and just eats up the camera, right? But you'll see just the way he talks to other people, the way he is in every scene, the way that he is framed in scenes. You know, there is more to this character because this character is in a movie which is actually just everything matters. You know, that's really the thing I can say. Everything in this movie matters. It's a shame more people haven't seen it. I saw it in college, and people were kind of groaning that we were being forced to watch a Western, and not one person after the college film class left that and was like, wow, I can't believe we had to watch that. That was actually one of the better films we watched that year. So, all that having been said, I think I answered most of your questions in there. I think that's how this kind of stands above the rest. And while I hope that you really like it, I have my own prediction that's separate from that. I hope that you really like it because I really like it. I'm also fine if you don't. Like, I'm totally fine if you don't. but I think that experiencing it is important.
Okay, well, having heard you say all that, I am excited to experience it.
Awesome. All right. Do you have anything you want to say before we get started? I will do my pre-movie prediction if you don't.
Real quick, did you want to get into this one other thing you had on the notes?
Oh, quick anecdote. My dad, big Western guy, he had a massive film library of VHS tapes. Like I said, probably 200 tapes deep of Westerns. And we used to watch them so much that we'd wear the tapes out, which you kids don't even understand what that is.
Yeah, you 7-year-olds listening to this. Hey, 7-year-old, fuck, shit, cock. Go ask your mom what those mean.
Okay, chill the fuck out. But we used to wear the tape out. And my dad never owned a copy of The Searchers on VHS. And he never found one. And there was one year where he said, this is the year I'm going to find one. And he was divorced from my mom at the time. At the time. They never got remarried. He was divorced from my mom. He went up to the mall, and he went to every single store in the mall that sold VHS tapes. And he eventually got into a screaming match with this guy at FYE. Because this is back when FYE sold movies, which they fucking don't anymore.
I'm going to be real. Do not know what FYE is.
The store, they sell now they sell Funko and nerd shit, but back then they sold movies. It stands for Your Entertainment.
Okay.
So he's at FYE, and he gets in a scream match with this kid who's just like, I don't know what the fuck The Searchers is, old man. And my dad never found a VHS copy of The Searchers. I can't imagine that would have been very good if he had ever found it. Because VHS kind of ruins everything. Like the quality of everything, especially when it's off of CRT. Just look like shit. So yeah. So that is my dad searching for The Searchers. He never found it.
Wow. So you said you didn't watch this movie until college then?
No, I had seen it.
Oh, okay.
I actually did buy it on Blu-ray after my dad died. So.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, he died in 2008 before there were Blu-rays.
Can't believe you finally completed the search for The Searchers.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow.
All right. So, Tom, if you want to take your headset off, I will give my movie prediction.
My headset. Oh wait. Well, let's first say, y'all. I don't know why I said y'all.
Y'all.
We are starting a new little part. We've done this a few times, but we're making it a permanent part of the show.
Permanent!
If one of us has not seen the movie, the other person is going to make a prediction as to how they will like it. So I'm going to take off my headphones right here, and CJ is going to make a prediction what I will think about The Searchers. All right, they are coming off now. I am ready, CJ. Fire away.
Okay, everybody. As much as I would really like Tommy to like this movie, and as much as I hope that he does, I am worried about a couple things. I am worried that maybe his predisposition to not liking Westerns will be too strong. And I do think this is one of John Wayne's better performances, but if you just don't like John Wayne, I mean, he is the star of the movie. You have to overcome that. So I'm going to say that he might either give this a barely thumbs up, or this is going to be a film is not okie dokie.
I'm back.
Hey.
So what'd you say?
Everything. All right. Well, that is that. Thank you to everybody for listening to our pre-show.
Yes.
If you would like to listen to the companion audio podcast for this episode where we watch the movie live with you, you can find that in the description below the video in YouTube or in the description on wherever you get your favorite podcasts. If you have already seen The Searchers or don't want to watch the movie right now, you don't have time, no worries. You're just going to keep on choogling, keep on listening, and the post show will be coming right up. You just keep on listening in one continuous experience. But if you want to stop and listen to the companion audio podcast, you can stop the podcast right now. This is like the onion scene from Holes.
Oh, what a good movie. Dig it up, boom, boom. That's my favorite Western. Song's gonna be stuck in my head the rest of this movie now.
I can fix that.
Well done.
Don't say anything, Debbie. It's your brother Marty, Debbie. I'm gonna take you away. I'm gonna get
How did that person right next to her not wake up?
They're acting. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Film is Okie Dokie.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've gone nowhere, or you've gone somewhere and come back. Those are the two options.
CJ.
Yeah.
Where have you gone over the past week?
Man, everywhere and nowhere. There was some cookie baking. It's the holidays right now. Yeah, there's some cookie baking going on. There's some gas that I needed to get. Some groceries.
Some gas?
Yeah, for the car. I'm buying my car right now.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a whole fucking thing. Yeah.
So when you say there's some gas I needed to get, when you word it like that, it makes it sound like you went and bought a couple canisters of gas and just put them in your garage. Like it's just part of the shopping list.
Yeah, I realize now that I screwed that up. I put gas in my car. I filled her up.
Okay. Very nice.
Yeah. As one does. Yeah.
Right.
And how about you? What have you been doing?
Oh, it's the holidays while we record this, so Christmas cookie baking and ran some errands, went and bought some gas for my car.
Yeah,
Just been around.
Usual stuff. You got gas.
Usual stuff. I bought gas for, especially because that's how we usually word it too. I went and bought gas.
Yeah, I got gas.
Have you bought anything else in the past week or so?
Actually, yeah, I wanted to mention this during the pre-show. I decided to push it to the post-show, and then something else happened that was weird. I have this really big pet peeve, and I think this is just in me in general. I feel like people don't know how to interact in retail environments. Like, people just genuinely just get to the point where I don't know where they've been all their life. They've, like, never been in a store. They've never stood in a line. And they just don't fucking understand what to do. I was at Five Guys. Have you ever been to a Five Guys?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so for people that don't know, if you've never been to a Five Guys is a fast food restaurant. It has that kind of fair style fry. It has like the fries in the peanut oil kind of thing, and it has like the big sloppy burgers. They wrap them in foil, and they give them to you in a paper bag, and that's how they give them to you. There's no trays. And they have peanuts in the restaurant, right? That's like, have I missed anything about Five Guys? It's supposed to have like a retro aesthetic to it, like a 50s aesthetic to it.
I'm not sure if I would agree. Like, that might
Not
be what
50s,
they're going for. I don't think
it's like red and white tile and like the all red and the white counters and stuff like that.
The one other big thing I'd say, I guess two other big things I'd say Five Guys is known for is, one, they give you a shit ton of fries. You do pay for them. It's not like you're getting a great deal on fries. The fry portions are enormous. And two, it's pretty expensive.
Yeah, so like you go there and like they fill up your fry cup and then they take, if you order a large, they take two little like scoopers and they put 2 scoops of fries in your bag.
And if you do a regular, they do scoops in the bag as well, and then the large cup is like a actual huge cup that you would get like pop in.
Yeah, it's a huge cup. So I go to Five Guys the other day because I was kind of feeling it, and I've been chasing the pickle dragon lately, and there were 2 people in front of me. First person was a mom with a young girl, like 5 or 6. She was like, "Hi, we're here for the fundraiser." And the girl behind the counter goes, "The fundraiser was yesterday." The lady pulls out a flyer and says, "Well, the flyer says the fundraiser is also today." And she says, "Okay, but the fundraiser was yesterday. It was a thing in the store. People were here. We were giving out the free burgers yesterday." And she was like, "No, but I understand. The flyer says And she's like, so she calls her manager over, and because the manager's like, we didn't make this flyer. Like, also, the fundraiser was yesterday. And so the woman's like, I don't understand what the problem is. Like, why can't I just get my burger? And it's like, because you want a free burger. And she's like, that's right. Like, because the fundraiser ended yesterday. It's like, but I have this flyer. And so then they pull out another flyer from yesterday, and her flyer is different than the flyer. And they look, and her flyer is like 2 years old. And they're like, she just waited for the dates to match up or some shit. And she was so embarrassed, and she's like, well, we'll still get lunch here, sweetie. So then they order, and I'm like, okay. But I was annoyed, because I'm like, you're coming here. I genuinely think that they weren't trying to pull a scam. I think that she was just completely befuddled. She found this old flyer and was like, oh, I must go. My people need me. And I don't know what kind of fundraiser it is that the burger place was giving away free burgers. I still don't really understand this. The guy in front of me then goes, okay, so Five Guys also has a very small menu. Ready? You can get the big cheeseburger, you can get the little cheeseburger, you can get the little bacon cheeseburger, or the big bacon cheeseburger. You can get a shake.
They have hot dogs too.
I'm getting there, Tommy.
Oh, jeez. I thought you would have just taken those out with the burgers.
You can get a hot dog, you can get a grilled cheese, you can get a patty melt, and you can get fries. That's basically it. They have toppings, but that's what you start with, okay? That's their menu. The menu is very small, right? So the guy looks up at the board. Now he's in front of me. He's had all this time to figure out what he wants.
Hold on. Okay, so the mom and the daughter were done. They're
done.
And then,
so now there's a guy in front of me.
Okay.
He's got on one slipper, like a big slipper, like you'd like a big like slippers like kids have, where you put your foot into like a cartoon character kind of thing. He's got one foot in a big dog slipper, and he's got the other foot in a sneaker. He's got on jorts, and he's all over the fucking place. But then he's like, what do y'all sell here? And the woman's like, oh, we sell hamburgers, cheeseburgers. And he's like, oh, well, I'm not really in the mood for a burger. She's like, oh, well, we have hot dogs, we can make grilled cheese, we can make a patty melt. And he's like, I'll do a turkey Reuben. And they're like, we don't make that. And she's like, what, you don't have any ground turkey back there? First of all, you don't make a turkey Reuben with ground turkey. But also, they're like, no, we don't. And so then he's like, ugh. So what? This place is only a burger joint, huh? 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 And I'm like, and then they're like, yeah, huh? Then the manager comes back over. What's the problem? He's like, well, I wanted a turkey Reuben. And she's like, are you okay? And he's like, no, I want a turkey Reuben. She's like, well, you could go to the diner. Diner has a turkey Reuben. He's like, no, I'm here. And you'd think like, oh, this guy's like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, right? Or something. So it's like, okay, whatever. So he eventually orders a cheeseburger. With no burger, he gets cooked onions, what else he get? He got cooked onions, he got cooked peppers, he got mustard, mayo, ketchup, and jalapenos in a hot dog bun. And a small fry. And then, so they're making his weirdo shit. I'm like, okay, well, whatever. I'll go up, order mine. Very traditional, by the way. The classic big bacon cheeseburger, ketchup, mustard, onions, pickles.
Bacon on a cheeseburger is not traditional.
I'm not talking to you right now. I'm talking to the audience.
What? Then who are you talking to?
To the audience.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, the classic. So And then I'm waiting for my food. I got my fries, right? I'm waiting. You always end up waiting for the fries. They end up making the burger instantly. You waited for the fries. And then we get our food at the same time. And I go out in the parking lot. And I get in my car because I'm parked right in front of the store. He's parked off to the side. He's driving a fucking Cybertruck. And he is with someone who looks like a supermodel. And she's like, what took so long? And he's like, they wouldn't give me a fucking turkey Reuben. So I don't know what that fucking guy was, who he was, or what his problem was. But he went looking for a fucking turkey sandwich at a hamburger stop. So, but I think because, I don't know how this works, but I think when you're rich and you're crazy, I think they call you eccentric. So, the two different shoes fucked me up. Oh, and his hand was wrapped in a plastic bag. That was the other thing. His left hand was wrapped in a plastic bag. Like you'd get at the store. Like they put your groceries in or whatever. And they don't sell those up here. Like when you get your groceries up here, they don't give you those. They give you paper now. So where did he even get that? That guy was cuckoo bananas.
Oh, sorry. Is this the part where the audience responds or where I
Wow,
respond?
okay, all right. Yeah, you're back in now.
The hand in the plastic bag, what?
I don't know, man.
When you were originally describing this guy's outfit, in my mind I was like, was he unhoused? Like, this feels like a very cobbled together outfit. And then once you brought up, no, walked out to a Cybertruck, I'm like, oh, no, he's just an Elon fan. Okay. This makes much more sense now.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Also, is that the preferred term now, unhoused?
Yeah.
Okay. That's good for me to know. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there you go. I don't know. Maybe he spent all of his money on Cybertruck, but he had it. He had $100 bills. Like, he ain't hurting for cash. I don't know why he ain't got two shoes.
It's because shoes don't cost $100 or $200, and like they might be like $140 or like $60, and you can't pay for that with $100 bill. You can only pay for like flat denomination valued shoes. $100, $200.
He also didn't tip, which I think is a faux pas. I know, they're not doing much except just ringing up your order, but I still think it's a faux pas. Okay, real quick, do you tip at a fast food, like you're running in to go pick up the food, and you just order at the counter? Do you tip at the counter? Depends
on the food place, but typically no.
I tip very little, but I still tip. Because I'm like, this is the job, right? Like, this is the job of working the register. This is not a tippable service. But I feel like saying that out loud in this time, in this climate, is offensive. So to cover my ass, I also tip.
No, I tip very well whenever I go out to like a place where or like if I'm getting delivered something or I'm being served at a table, I'll tip. Or if I'm getting, but fast food, if it's a place where the tip jar is on the counter, I'm like not gonna tip. You know?
Now they have these things where you put your card in. The first question is, how much do you want to tip?
Yeah, it's invasive.
It is invasive. I agree.
So speaking of tipping, real quick, we talked about tipping the other day when you and I chatted. I want you to run down your tipping system because it is a bit unorthodox and I had never heard it before.
Oh, I thought I thought mine was very dox.
No, I had never heard this before.
Okay.
Typically, I hear you take 15 to 20% of the bill. That's the tip.
Okay. So, yes, I've heard that you tip about that much, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I've always heard a quick way to get there between 15 and 20% is to double the tax and add $1 because where I live, tax is 8%.
Mm-hmm.
So
gotcha.
If you have a $100 bill and you double the tax, that is $16, and then you add $1, that's $17. You're tipping 17%.
So interesting, but I guess it's not. It's a little under that though, because I thought you're supposed to tip after tax, and I guess you're tipping a pre-tax 8%, twice.
Now, let me tell you something.
And not a post-tax 8%.
Let me tell you something. Do I got to pay the tax? Do I got to pay the tax?
Do you? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then they're getting it post-tax.
I had always just thought that the convention was you take the total bill
Fuck
amount.
the convention.
And
then, I got to pay the tax. Not everything can be pre-tax. Someone's got to pay the tax.
All I'm saying is that you might be under tipping a little bit at times.
I'm under tipping?
It might be under 15% at times. If that's your floor value, it
How
might
is
be
it under tipping?
Depending on the size of the bill, it might be under. I think it becomes an issue once it starts getting bigger. No,
okay.
I think the math. Yeah.
Okay, if I have a $300 bill, you do the math. Your math.
Okay. All right.
Your math, and I'm CJ, and your math. If I have a $300 bill,
8% tip.
Yep, $24. Yeah, 8% tax. That's $24. Okay, that's and then times 2 is 48, and then add $1.
$49.
So that's $49. So what's 49 of 300?
49. Well, it's not of 300. It's of 324.
Why is it 324? The bill was 390.
Because the bill was $324. Oh, we're doing the example without tax. Okay, so what was it? 49 of 300.
The total bill before the tip is $300 on the button.
Yeah.
So it's
before or after tax.
The whole bill. The number on the bottom of the piece of paper is $300.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 49. So what's 49 of 300?
Well, hold on.
No, what is that number?
Wait, I have a question. The 49 divided by 300 is 16%.
Okay, then I'm okay then.
No, what I'm saying though is the 300 is pre-tax. I thought that it was post-tax 15 to 20%. And if you do that, hold on, let me get I'm doing the math.
I'm saying someone's got to pay the tax.
Right.
I've got to pay the tax.
Right. What I'm saying is you're still in that 15 to 20% range, but rather than being like 17%, you're like right at 15%.
I'm at 16%.
No, because the bill. Oh, wait, hold on. So
you just said I was at 16%.
Hold on. So pre-tax, $300.
No, not pre-tax. All tax.
Tax 300. So hold on, I have to reverse engineer a little bit then, because I had done the math.
No reverse engineer.
No, because if you're saying pre-tax, post-tax it's 300, we need to figure out what the tax is to have gotten it to 300, right? Because your bill would actually be like 270 something, and that changes the values.
Yeah, Tommy, if you have a $300 bill on the button and tax is 8%, that means that you have $24 in tax, which means that the pre-tax bill would be $276 and you'd be paying $24 in tax. Yes.
No, because the 8% is of 300. The tax value is the whatever. If your bill was $300 pre-tax, then the tax would be $24. Because 8% of 300, 8% of your bill is the 24. What we need to find is the number like 270 whatever, where 8% of that plus the 270 whatever is 300
This is
flat.
too fucking complicated. This is why I double the tax and I add a fucking dollar, because I'm not trying to do fucking calculus at the table and no one gives a shit.
Calculus.
Yes, it is. It's fucking math. It's all this math.
Can I give you?
No. I'm tired of the math.
Can I give you a quick tip for 20%?
No, stop it. I'm done. We're done with the math.
So you divide by 10.
Times 2. I'll take my fucking headset off. It's not what we're doing. Not what we're doing. I'm at 16% and that's good. That's a healthy tip. God damn it. Someone's got to pay the tax. TJ's got to pay the CJ
15%.
tax. That's fine.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying. I just wanted to make
you
sure
said
you
I'm
knew
under tipping.
No, that was originally before we did the math, but I just want to let you know, you're on the lower end.
I'm still tipping well. It's a range. Also, I round up all the time.
That's good.
No, I'm fucking pissed off now. You said I was under fucking tipping.
Well, because the math isn't as simple. Like, I don't think
It
you're
is!
under. I don't think you're tipping. Like, no. I don't.
Tommy, billions of people tip every day, and they don't have this conversation about it.
Yeah, well, that's why, because you have an unorthodox method of tipping, so we wanted to talk about it.
And I'm typing in double. It literally is coming up. I literally just Googled it, and it's coming up. So many people are like, this is like the thing.
Interesting. I had never heard this before. I had always just heard, divide by 10 times 2, that's 20%.
Well, there you go. I'm not fucking remembering a fucking table. Some people are like, just remember, tip $2 for every 10. Fuck you. I'm not carrying a card in my wallet. I'm not fucking using an app. I'm not fucking having a conversation. I'm looking at the fucking bill. I'm remembering how much I have in my bank account. I'm fucking doubling the tax, and I'm adding a fucking $1. You motherfucker. I don't even talk about it. I don't even want to tell the other burger story now. I don't even want to tell the other burger story now.
What?
You did this.
Wow, you're denying. I did this. I asked. No, we were doing math.
Wait, you were doing math.
We
Me?
We were doing math.
We.
Yeah. And math is hard to do over strictly audio.
You fucking motherfucker. You are enjoying this too much, you know?
I'm not enjoying this.
I'm going, yeah, you are. I'm going to pieces over math. Yeah, exactly, you fucking dickhead. Yeah, all right. All right.
I don't know.
Well, fine. This is what... I can't fucking go 2 episodes without sounding like a fucking lunatic. I swear to God, we just need to put out this rant, like today. Like after that, we just need to clip this rant about the tipping and put that out today. And just let people fucking weigh in on that. I don't want to fucking wait till April to fucking hear what people have to say. I know I'm right.
No, we have to wait until April 25th.
Fuck you. I'll fucking edit it. All right. Now, the whole reason this came up was I had really bad service at a restaurant, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It was at a place that you and I went to. It was at a Slice.
Okay.
And the waitress was kind of old, and she said she was new, and she didn't know what she was doing, but I knew we were fucked the minute that we asked for waters and she didn't write it down. I was like, we are fucking screwed.
Wait, hold on, the litmus test was when she didn't write down that you just asked for waters?
We asked for drinks, and she was only writing down the drink parts, not the waters. Because then, we got the drinks, but we didn't get water. And I was like, okay, cool. I also got a piss-warm beer, and I asked for, like, a glass, like a chilled glass. I got back a warm glass. So anyway... So then she comes back, and it takes forever. Eventually, another waitress came and gave us our waters. And so that was fine. So one of the glasses was chipped, so we had to get another glass. And then one of the other glasses had like a syrupy ring around the glass. And so we asked for another glass. And she never came back with that glass. She never came, for the rest of the meal, we had, when there's 5 of us, she never came back with another glass of water.
How old was this waiter?
I would say she was older than my mom. So I would say she was between 70 and 80, maybe 85. I mean, just older.
Mm-hmm.
She couldn't hear. I mean, we were yelling and she couldn't hear us. She wouldn't get closer to us. And she didn't understand the menu.
How far was she standing?
Like at the end of a table when you have like 4 at a 4-person table.
Okay.
Like we were like, I was like, hi, I want the chicken parm. I don't want pasta. She was like, it doesn't come with pasta. I was like, I know that it does. She's like, it doesn't. I said, I've been coming here longer than you. The meal comes with, the meal. Yes, you cannot just order the cutlet. I know that.
You can't order the turkey Reuben?
I know. So it just took a while, and then, so I'm like, everyone was kind of pissed off, and so I was like, guys, we've ordered our food, we ordered some appetizers. I said, now her roll is over because she can't fuck this up anymore. So then she comes back to the table and she's showing us her notepad, and I'm like, this is not a good sign. She was showing us her notepad, showing us that she put in the right food. And I'm like, oh, we're not getting the right food, are we?
Wait, she did that before the food came out?
Yeah.
Oh my god, what a doomer goddamn mentality. Guys,
And then,
look, I wrote down the food right before it comes out.
I looked at it and I said, what is this, fucking Urdu? I said, what language is this in? I was like, this is not, it was very hard to read. So it comes out. She doesn't give it so she didn't bring it out, thank God. None of the food went to the right person. So that was fucked up, but whatever. We get the food, and one person's missing their whole meal. And they asked for angel hair pasta, the meat sauce, and a sweet Italian sausage. So they come back with angel hair pasta and a cup of meat sauce. And it's like, what is he gonna do? Dip the pasta in the cup? Like, so okay. So we pour the sauce over it. They come take the cup. We kept saying, "Hey, we're missing our sausage. Hey, we're missing our sausage." Finally, she comes back, and she's like, "Hey, everything came out okay?" And we're like, "No, we're still missing the sausage." She goes, "I swear, I put it in." She runs back there into the kitchen, and you can kind of see into the kitchen. We watch her put a sausage in the microwave and bring it out to us.
Oh my god.
And it was inedible. So that was unfortunate. So the other thing that happened was she came to us and said, "Hey, so I don't know if you know this about this place, but the appetizers come at the same time as the entree." And we said, that doesn't make any sense. Why would we want that? And they said, because that way all the food is hot. It's like, you can have hot food and stagger it. That's how kitchens work. Every other restaurant fucking does that.
Usually places will be like, "Oh, I'll delay putting the dinner order in just so that the appetizers will come out, and then we'll put the dinner order in so everything's nice and hot. Your food's not sitting there wait." She was like, "Yeah, I'm going to put it all in so it's all hot at the same time."
Yeah, so then they realized that we had appetizers, and they broke it up for us, the other waitresses. So, if not for the other waitresses, we would have had all of our food, well, some of us would have had all of our food at once. So, I was like, okay, whatever. I eat my food. My food was pretty good. I mean, the food is fantastic. It's not, that has nothing to do with her. But at the end, this is where the tipping came up. Because I said I tipped low, and I felt bad about tipping low, but this was probably the worst waitress I've ever had. And at some point, it is a gratuity, right? Like, I do not want to be the asshole. Like, I have read horror stories about guys leaving like 5 $1 bills on the table and then removing $1 for poor service every time something fucks up.
I've heard about that shit.
I don't want to dangle somebody's livelihood in front of them. At the same time, the tip is for service. The tip is not because you rolled out of bed, right? Do you deserve a living wage? Yes. It is not my job to provide the living wage. If you provide service, I am more than happy to give you an above average tip. And I just told you what my general rule of thumb is for tipping. I've tipped more than that on a more than regular basis. At my hot dog place, I usually tip $7 on a $20 bill, which I know is more than what I'm supposed to pay. Yeah, exactly. And I always do that. And I've never asked for change. So if I have $30, I'm paying $30. If I have $40, I'm paying $40. I've never asked for change at that place.
If I have only $100 bills, well,
yep, there you go.
I'm out of luck.
I'm the guy with the bag, you know?
Yep.
Yep. So anyway, so on a $160 bill, I paid a $20 tip.
Now, was the $160 post-tax or pre-tax?
I will fucking stab you. That's the total at the end of the bill. Why would I know pre-tax bills? Why would anyone know that?
I don't know.
Yeah, I know you don't know.
That's why I'm so fucking confused.
Well, there you go. So, did I tip low? Yes. But, you know what? Bad
So
service.
wait, where does McDonald's have to come into all this?
Oh, I had there was another burger weirdo at McDonald's. So, I have a McDonald's in my town. It has 2 drive-up windows.
What? Lucky?
What?
No, I was making a joke that I don't, but every town has like 4 McDonald's in them.
Yeah, we have 2 McDonald's. One of ours has the 2 drive-up speakers, but 1 window, right?
Mm-hmm.
The deal is, there's 2 entrances, but it's the same line. So the one can only get to the farther speaker, and the other one can get to either. So the one entrance can get to the one, the other entrance can get to both. So they only ever use the one speaker. So I pull in, and I'm at the farther speaker, and there's a guy behind me in his car, and I'm trying to order, and he's like screaming, "Hello? Hello in there? Hello?" So I'm trying to order, and the lady can't hear me because this fucking idiot is screaming. So I turn around. That one's not working. You have to use this one. So I say that to you. What do you do in that situation? What does that information I've given you result in your brain?
Oh, I get out of my car and I walk up to the other speaker and I order the working speaker. Duh.
Uh-huh. Yeah, exactly what he did. Got out of his car, got in between me and the car and the speaker, and started talking over me.
Dude, I'm telling you, there is something in the goddamn water in your town.
I don't know what happened. I was like, I'm ordering my food. And he's like, well, you said this is the only one that works. And I said, yeah, when it's your turn, you can use it. So mad.
I just don't
understand. And then I get up to the window, and my fucking order was all fucked up. They had me ordering all kinds of weird shit. I'm like, no, man, I want a McRib. And they're like, oh, okay. Well, you didn't order all this stuff? I was like, no, it's the guy behind me. The guy behind me got out of the fucking car and walked up to the fucking window. And they said, really? And I said, yeah, he's a fucking lunatic. And then he's like, oh, he ordered a coffee with 37 sugars on the side.
What?
On the side.
What is happening in this town?
He ordered a coffee with 37 sugars on the side. He ordered a black coffee and sugar.
Sorry, no, he ordered a black coffee with 37 sugars, CJ.
He ordered, honestly, he was probably inconvenienced by the fact that it was given to him in packets.
That's like me when I go to goddamn Taco Bell and I get 30 fire sauces.
You get 30 fire sauces?
Not some. I have had orders that are that many.
If you get out of your car, if you ever got out of your car and got in between someone else's car and the speaker, I would disown you.
Well, how do you know I haven't done that?
I would be so mad at you.
Do
that shit on your own time. Don't do that to me.
Oh, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna trail you around town.
I will cut you
to one of these fancy McDonald's locations I'm hearing all about that my town doesn't have.
Well, anyway, folks. Now that my blood pressure's gone through the roof, we're here today to talk about The Searchers.
Let's raise it further. Higher blood pressure. CJ,
no.
You go first. How'd you like the movie?
No, you have to go first.
No. You have to trust me on this. You have to go first, please.
Okay. I have gone through, because we recorded this we usually record on Mondays. This is a rare occasion we're recording on a Tuesday. And so we usually record on a Monday, and then we follow it up with a recording on a Monday. And so I've had this extra day of uncertainty where I just really want to hear what you have to say about this movie for so many reasons. But I obviously think this is one of the greatest films of all time. And it is one of the seminal works of American cinema, and is defining in our culture and defining to so many of the most influential directors of all time. The directors that you find inspirational, their favorite directors found this movie inspirational, right? So this is obviously one of my favorite movies of all time. It obviously carries a little bit of nostalgia water. I think it holds up incredibly well. I think it's incredibly well made. I think it's gorgeous. I think it is one of the best American films ever made, and it is obviously definitely probably the best John Wayne film ever made. So, all right, let me have it.
All right. So CJ, now viewers at home, listeners at home, I don't know if you know this, but we will watch our movies on Mondays and usually record the following Monday. So CJ and I watched this last Monday. And, afterwards, even throughout, I really wasn't sure how I felt. And I spent the rest of last Monday night just thinking about it and trying to figure out how I felt. And the more I thought about it, the more unsure I was. And I was laying in bed that Monday night, and it was all I could think about, just trying to figure out and decipher how I felt. And I just felt that, I don't think I could properly assess this movie without watching it another time. So CJ, I rewatched this movie within 24 hours of us watching it.
Whoa, you watched it again.
I watched it again the next day, and I've been keeping it from you. We've hung out multiple times since this.
We have.
On Discord and whatnot, and I've been biting my tongue the entire time. I finished watching Searchers the second time less than 24 hours from when we had started it the first time.
Okay, wow. So you really...
So, yes, I also did a lot of reading, a lot of research online just to kind of gain additional context to this film, because I feel like that's the thing that's difficult about this movie is I feel like this is a movie that's really hard to, one, fully grasp and assess on a first watch. But two, I do think that this movie but it doesn't stand out like how it, spoiler alert, I think that this movie, I agree with what CJ said in that it is a seminal work of American cinema. I think that this movie is really good, really, really good. I think that it is really well put together, incredibly written. I don't think it's perfect. I do have some complaints. Some are, complaints more geared towards the actual film itself. Some are more towards the film and the culture in which it came out in and things that might not have aged well. But it's still a very valuable movie. But I think it's hard to see that without having more context into what the landscape of not only cinema was like at the time, but Westerns and also America in general. Yes. This movie came out less than 100 years, like 90 years after the Civil War, right? That's like if today a movie came out that took place in the 1930s, which it seems long ago, but also not that long ago. It's still relevant to our current history. So yeah, I think that this movie, it's really good. It's very important. I would definitely recommend it to people to watch, but I think that there is more that needs to be said in that recommendation than just, you got to watch The Searchers. I think additional context is required.
Yes, I think so too. So I am looking forward to what is going to perhaps be one of my favorite film analysis discussions we've ever had on the show.
Oh, don't put the cart before the horse, CJ.
I am so excited for this. But first, let's do a recap of the movie, shall we?
Awesome.
All right, so this movie takes place a few years after the Civil War. And let's just put a few characters into place. So we have John Wayne plays Ethan Edwards. I'm going to call John Wayne his character name Ethan or John Wayne. Martin, I'm going to call Martin Pauly. That character is played by Jeffrey Hunter. Vera Miles played Laura Jorgensen. Ward Bond played the Reverend Captain Samuel Johnson Clayton. And we really don't need to know any of the other actors, the principal actors, or any of the other supporting actors, because the movie is really about just a couple of people. And beyond John Wayne and Jeffrey Hunter, their roles are secondary or in the periphery. So, for the most part, let's talk about the plot. So, it's a few years after the Civil War, and it is, excuse me, it's a few years after the Civil War, and in from the smoky, red dirt desert of Monument Valley rides Ethan Edwards, John Wayne, on his horse after being gone for 8 years. And he is now going home for the first time to his brother Aaron and Aaron's wife. Ethan fought in the Civil War for the Confederacy, and it has been 3 years since the war ended, but Ethan did not surrender. He has a lot of gold coins in his possession, which are apparently unminted, and he has a medal, which he gives to the youngest daughter, Debbie. There is also, what I must say, is a very intimate, unspoken relationship between Aaron's wife and Ethan, which is entirely done with business on stage, on film. It is not spoken. It is not written. It is only acted. And it is an incredible case of what you can do on screen without words being exchanged, just with physical space. So
there is a lot of storytelling told just by the glances Ethan and Martha.
Yes, Martha, the glances and the way they compose themselves. And I did research. This compelled me to pull up the screenplay and read how it was written in the screenplay. Yeah. So not long after Ethan comes home, it's actually the next day. Ethan's kind of like, I'm going to settle in. I'll pay my way. I've got this gold, whatever. The Reverend Captain Clayton comes, played by Ward Bond, and he says that there is some Comanche activity, some Indian activity taking place, and that they're going to go investigate, and that Aaron and Martin, because he doesn't know that Ethan is here, are about to be sworn in as Texas Rangers. John Wayne says Aaron is not going, because if this turns out to be a trap set by Comanche, the first place that they'll come is here, after they've drawn away everybody else that can defend the homestead. So he is volunteering to go, but he says that he cannot take an oath of allegiance to the Texas Rangers because he owes an oath to the Confederate States of America. So Martin, who Ethan saved as a boy from a Comanche raid, and who is a quarter or an eighth Cherokee, I think.
He's an eighth, yes.
Yeah. He is the adopted brother and the adopted son of Aaron and Martha. John Wayne hates his fucking guts, and he makes no bones about it. He doesn't hide it. He tells him not to call him Uncle Ethan. He tells him just to call him Ethan, and basically wears down any possible affection that that the boy has for him. There's also Lucy, who's the oldest daughter, the son, whose name does not possibly matter, and obviously Debbie, the youngest. So the Rangers, Martin and Ethan, and old Mose, go all the way out into a canyon where they find the prize bull of Lars Jorgensen. They find out that the prize bull has been killed. This has been a trap to lure them away, just as John Wayne said. So the Rangers decide they're going to go to the Jorgensens because their place is closest. John Wayne and Mose don't go. Martin says, why aren't you going to go? he says these horses need grain and rest. It's 40 miles back, and we're not going to make it. So John Wayne doesn't go. Martin goes off in a huff. That night, the Comanche come, and they destroy the homestead. They presumably kill Aaron, his wife Martha, and their son Ben. And Debbie and Lucy are missing. So Martin, his horse dies. He's seen carrying his tack. Ethan and Mose ride past him. They won't help him. They arrive. The place is burning. It cuts to the funeral. And John Wayne is now on a mission. He is going to find them girls. They set off with the Texas Rangers, the same ones who set off to do that other mission before. The full company of Rangers go out. And they basically are too many and not enough. They are too many because they cannot travel light enough to get the advantage on the Comanche. But they are too few in that they cannot overwhelm them with numbers. So after basically a few encounters, one with a dead and or wounded Comanche man who was totally and completely alive and also Italian, that they buried in a shallow grave in which Ethan shoots his eyes, and a failed raid across a river in which they meet who is foreshadowed as the principal antagonist but is not given a name. The Rangers, John Wayne, Martin, and Brad Jorgensen, the son of Lars and Laura, I think her name is, and the
Lori, sorry.
Lori. No, yeah, Lori. No, Lori was the daughter.
Right, Lars' daughter, right? Lori?
No,
Lori is who Martin's involved with?
I'm talking about he's the son. Mrs. Jorgensen doesn't have a name. Lars and Mrs. Jorgensen.
Right.
So he's Lori Jorgensen's brother, and he is in love with Lucy, who is missing. So the three of them set off. The next night, they find a camp, the next day they keep traveling. They find a canyon that splits, and they find tracks going two ways. The majority of the tribe going one way into the canyon, and a few of them on horseback going into another section of the canyon. They group back up when the canyon comes back together. John Wayne went, Martin and Ben went the other way. Martin and Brad, that's right, because Ben is the boy who died. Martin and Brad went the way that the other Comanche went, and John Wayne tracked the other four that went off on their own. He comes out of the canyon without his jacket. He's very tired, and he comes out twisting his knife in the sand. That night, Brad swears that he has found Lucy, that there's a camp just over the ridge, and he's going to go get her. John Wayne reveals he found Lucy. Those four Comanche took her up into that canyon, and what do you want me to do? Draw you a picture? Don't ask me. As long as you live, don't ever ask me. So you can read into what happened to Lucy as much as you want. I'll leave it at that. Brad is now thrown into a furor and decides to go over the ridge and get revenge. He is instantly murdered. And unfortunately, that is the end of Brad Jorgensen. So now, and for the rest of the movie, it is going to be Martin and Ethan. And remember, Martin and Ethan don't get along. Right? Ethan hates Martin because he hates the natives, and we'll get to that more. So eventually, it becomes wintertime, and that's it. They can't travel in the winter, so they lose the trail, and they go back to the Jorgensen's ranch. And Martin has become enthusiastically welcomed home by the Jorgensen's daughter, Lori, who we mentioned before, played by Vera Miles. And Ethan finds a letter waiting for him from a trader named Mr. Futterman, who says that he knows where Debbie is. And so Ethan, who doesn't want to travel with Martin, leaves without him. And Lori, who doesn't want Martin to go because she doesn't want to grow up to be an old maid, wants and loves Martin, doesn't tell him. Martin says he has to go because if he's worried about what will happen if Ethan finds Debbie before he does. So the two of them regroup. Martin and Ethan are traveling together again. They go to Futterman's trading post, and they find out that Mr. Futterman traded with a person who, because he has a piece of cloth from a dress that Debbie had. And Debbie has been taken by Scar, the chief of the Nayeka band of Comanche. And they explain this in the movie, but Nayeka, in this case, say you're gonna go one way, but you go the other. Kind of like
roundabout.
Roundabout
is the word they used.
So another year later, I'll say there's a lot of time passing in this movie, but there's not a lot of like hard takes, right? There's not a lot of hard cuts. You kind of just have to really pay attention. A year or so later, Lori gets a letter from Martin explaining how the search has been going. And there's a man there, named, what is his name? Charlie McCordy.
Yeah,
he talks like this.
Yes,
Yes. Yeah.
I hardly recognize myself.
Yeah. That'll be the day. Been over that long. Anyway, so Charlie comes to Corden, and they have the letter, and she reads the letter. And basically, Lori narrates the few scenes. Martin marries a squaw. Ethan kills Mr. Futterman for trying to steal his money. And the wife that Martin buys runs away after she hears Scar's name. And later on, they find her dead, with a portion of Scar's soldiers Scar's band of Nayeka that have been killed by the army. So now they've been looking for 5 years, and they're in the New Mexico territory, and they get their best lead that someone knows where she is. It's at this like Mexican outpost, and it is probably my favorite plot point in the whole movie, in that the reason that nobody knew who Scar was is because he didn't go by Scar. He went by the Spanish word for scar, which I just love. Cicatrice. I love that. That is such a plausible, real thing that could really be the case, right?
Mm-hmm. And funny enough, we brought it up in the moment, but the first movie in this run of vengeance movies, the Batman, has a similar plot point with Rata Alada. I was laughing at that.
Yeah, I do like that as well. Because it is real, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they actually do find Debbie. They meet with a trader who is going to trade with Scar. They get face to face with Scar for the first time. They're sitting in his teepee, and he explains that white man killed his sons. So for each son, he takes a wife. And so he took Debbie as one of his wives. She hands his staff, I don't know the term for it, I apologize, to him. It has the scalps on it. They look up. It's Debbie as an adult. She runs away to tell them she's living as a Comanche. She wants to stay with the Comanche, and she doesn't want to see them get hurt, and she needs to leave. Ethan, if you haven't caught on, hates the natives, knew this would happen with her living amongst them, and has decided he's going to kill her and not save her. So Martin, the whole time Martin's been with her, the whole time Martin's been with Ethan, his whole purpose has been, I need to stop Ethan from killing Debbie when he finds her. And then Ethan gets shot in the shoulder with presumably a poison arrow, and they end up holed up in like a canyon where Martin tends to Ethan's wounds, and Ethan has a moment, and he does this throughout the movie. He says that he's not kin. Don't call me uncle. I'm nothing to you. It didn't have to be me that saved you. It could have been anybody, right? All that. He makes out his last will and testament to Martin, and Martin is furious because it says that he has no kin. Obviously, he has Debbie. He says, "Not no more seeing." So he knows if he ever finds Debbie again, he's gonna kill her. So later, they lose the trail. They have to go home. So in the meantime, it's been like 6 years since Martin has been home, because there's the year where they traveled since he left and he wrote the letter, and then there was another 5 years between after the letter. So they go back to the Jorgensens for the first time in like 6 years. And Lori is set to marry Charlie McCory. In fact, it's actually their wedding. Isn't that exciting? Ethan and Martin arrive to crash the wedding, and Mr. Jorgensen, not exactly happy about that, tries to stop everything from kicking off. Martin has a very heart-to-heart, says, "You never told me that you loved me," and Martin says, "I didn't think I needed to tell you that I loved you. I thought you just knew that I loved you." Charlie walks in and says that the two are going to fight. And the two get into a pretty funny fight where there's lots of dirty fighting, gouging and kicking and biting.
A lot of biting.
Martin bit the crap out of him.
And crazy fisticuffs poses from Charlie McCory.
Bend over that log.
Like goddamn Bugs Bunny.
So, ultimately, she's excited that Martin is willing to fight for her. She tends to him, and the Rangers who are there, Reverend obviously is there to do the wedding, and they're like, there ain't gonna be no wedding. No way, got a couple of things straightened out around here, right? I'm not doing a good Charlie McCory right now. But so now it's like she's cleared to marry Martin, and obviously it's been 6 years. So everything seems like it's in place. They've lost Debbie. Martin has come home and declared his love for Lori. And then who should come at the door but Lieutenant Greenhill, who is the son of Colonel Greenhill. Lieutenant Greenhill played by Patrick Wayne. And Lieutenant Greenhill says that he has someone that Ethan might know, that is Mose Harper. Mose Harper was taken by Scar. Mose Harper convinced Scar that he was crazy and was let go by the Comanche. And so Mose, who only wants a rocking chair and is a little crazy, has figured out where the Comanche are and has directed them where to go. So now they know where the Comanche are holding up. They're going to do a raid at dawn, similarly to how the Comanche attacked at sunset. And they are going to... The Rangers say they're going to attack with the American army. They are going to attack, and they're going to save Debbie. Ethan is very clear. He wants to kill Debbie. Martin, his plan is to get in before the raid to save Debbie. So ultimately, the attack happens. Martin is in there. Martin kills Scar. Ethan finds Scar's body and scalps him for revenge. Ethan saves Debbie Ethan finds Debbie and starts chasing her on horseback. Martin tries to chase after her because he's afraid that Ethan will shoot her when he gets to her. And then right at the ultimate moment, right when you think he's about to kill her, Ethan sweeps her up, takes her back to the York and says, "Debbie, let's go home." He decides not to kill her, takes her home to the Jorgensen Ranch, where Lori can now live a life with the Jorgensens. Lori can be with Martin finally, and everyone else enters the house except Ethan, who walks back out into the desert. And that is The Searchers. How did I do on that recap?
I would give you a nice.
I thought you were going to say a 9, and I was like, oh, cool. But nice, I'll take. All right. So, really quickly, I did want to talk about, there is so much going on with doors in this movie.
Yeah,
and before we even touch anything else, we got to talk about the symbolism of the door, right? Because that first shot before, when he's coming out of the desert, right? When he's on with his horse and he's in like the Confederate gear and everything, when he's coming out of the desert, it's through the perspective of the door of the house, right? And it's pitch black in the house, and it's all lit up on the range. And at the end of the movie, it's the opposite. Everyone's going into the house. It's pitch black in the house, and he's lit in the doorway. And
it's important to say that the camera's like placed inside of the house. You're viewing him coming out of the desert and going into the desert from inside of the house. The door frame itself frames the shot. Yeah.
And so he doesn't come in. He kind of like puts his arm behind his back and he like hems and haws and he's uneven on his feet. And then with nothing, no food, no water, no horse, he just walks back out into the desert. And this is probably, if you wanted to be the green light in Gatsby is envy. If you wanted to be that person, this is your moment, because John Wayne is framed in the door because what's on the other side of the door is the life that he cannot have. He chose to go to war. In some ways, he chose hatred over the love, right? He didn't get to be with Martha.
Very much.
He didn't get to have the family. Aaron had the family. He didn't surrender. His war is still going on. His war will always be going on because he hates the natives so much. And I cannot stress that enough. Without being like just straight up calling them racial slurs at all times of all days, this is probably one of the most convincing performances I've ever seen of one character hating another group of people, right? Like, just through like performance, he really just hates the Comanche. But he can't. So you think, okay, what's the end game for Martin? Well, Martin's end game is that he saves Debbie and gets to have, because that's what he wants, right? And the whole time you're watching the movie, you think, well, what does Ethan want? Ethan wants to kill her. Well, what's next for Ethan after he kills her? And it doesn't matter to you, because why does that matter, right? The movie will be over, right? What does Ethan get out of killing her? And then it's like Ethan brings her home. Right? And there's so much you can read into that. Maybe that's like, you know, whatever you want to say. But there is nothing for Ethan. There's nothing for him in that house. Martin has Lori now. He's going to start his life with her. Debbie is going to grow up with the Jorgensens. And, you know, he's wanted for murder. You know, his brother is dead. His wife is dead. His other living relatives are dead. Like, this is it. He's a middle-aged Civil War survivor, and this is it for him. So, what does a man that only knows war and only knows hate do? He just wanders right back out into it. And it's not even like a hard decision for him. It's not like he's laboring over the decision. He hems and haws about whether to go in the house, and then just goes out into the desert. The only time he's ever nice to Martin was when he was trying to use him as live bait. And when you see him go in the house in the beginning of the movie, you'll notice he never goes in the house when the shot is in the door, right? It's when the camera goes outside the house and it's facing the house, right? and then you can't see inside. And still all the work is on the porch. And then we see him duck down and go in, right? He's only there for like a day. He's 2 days?
Yeah, a couple days at most.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there's some off-screen days, but,
Yeah.
He's not there. And the other thing that happens is when he leaves, the last scene in the movie of him in the doorway when he leaves and he's walking back into the desert, the door closes. Because he is locked out of this life. This is not for him, and he'll never have it. So, a lot of beautiful symbolism there, I think. It's there if you want it. If you want to just appreciate it as a really cool door shot, it's also there. It's a really cool way to use that door.
I personally feel like if you look at these shots, though, as just, oh, that's a really cool door shot, I feel like you're missing most of the meaning that this movie is talking about. Because this movie, like you said, he's a horrible, violent man, horribly racist. He still upholds his oath to the Confederacy. He has dubious currency. He just not a good dude. Yet he weaponizes his hate. I guess I should say he, enacts his hate amongst on the Comanche and really most people he comes across, but especially the Comanche. But at this time in American history, that was something that, the white settlers benefited from. The quote, American society benefits from this horrible man. So they keep him around, even though both by his own choosing, like you said, he wanders back off into the desert. He can go out. He can go inside, but he doesn't. But I do also think that there's just not place for him in society. Society is moving forward. And even the way these other characters kind of talk about him, they even acknowledge he's a pretty bad dude. I don't think it's not over the top in a way that I think modern movies might play it, where there's countless examples of him just being a real shitheel. But it's really there with the dialogue and, like you said, the unspoken actions. A perfect example, though I guess this is kind of over the top, but it's just played really kind of matter-of-factly in the moment. And I think that's kind of the era, is when they find the grave of the Comanche and he shoots out his eyes so that this dude will forever walk the afterlife, unable to reach, his I forget the term that they use, but
he spends forever walking between the winds.
Yeah. He hates these people so much he is willing to just on a whim shoot out a dude's eyes, which, gotta say, if he can shoot out a dude's 2 eyes on horseback, just kind of hipping the weapon, this guy's the greatest shot who's ever lived. My lord.
Yeah. He's a pretty good shot, apparently.
I guess so. I do want to talk about an even better shot someone takes later, but yeah, just generally, there is no place for him in society, despite society benefiting from him. And both he and society knows this. It's not like anyone in the home is there come on, Ethan, come on inside. They just let him go. Yeah. There is no invitation for him.
No, for sure. He is, and the story's not about advancement. A story like Red Dead, right, is about times are changing.
Right.
It's redemption, but it's also the times are slowly changing. That scene in Red Dead 2 where he's you can buy a house out of a book, right? Mm-hmm. That whole scene is it's not a joke, right? It's progress. Everything's about progress. The railroad is progress. This isn't that, right? They're not looking for Scar on a train. This is, and this gets me to something else in here in a minute, but he is an evil that exists because evil exists. He is the evil that you align yourself with when you want some evil done. When
the evil benefits you. And to your point in that the progress, this isn't a story about progress. It's this is the foundation of the progress in this world. And it's my favorite quote from this movie. I think it absolutely fucking rules.
Yeah.
They are talking about, the Jorgensens are talking, and Mrs. Jorgensen, of all characters, the one character without a first name, she says, someday this country's gonna be fine. Good place to be. Maybe it needs our bones in the ground before that time can come. Like, what a fucking great line that just so succinctly captures, like, yeah, like, we might not be there, but the machinations are there, and Ethan is one of them. Like, man.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to say this. If you're Ethan Edwards, he is very hateful. And the movie gives you a little piece. Doesn't give you the whole thing, because it couldn't. It was 1956. It couldn't do it. But the way that pictures were made at the time. But it does give you a little piece about why he hates them so fucking much. Because the scene where he comes out of the canyon is one of the best acting jobs that John Wayne has ever done.
The scene when he finds Lucy's body and he, like, wraps her coat around her.
And again, only implied that she was raped, because you could only get away with that at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Heavily implied that that they raped her and that they left her body up in that canyon. He buried her with his own hands and wrapped her in his red coat and said, "What do you want me to do? Draw you a picture? As long as I live, don't you ever ask me." And he tears up. And right? Best acting job that man's ever done.
He teared up. I am not convinced John Wayne.
I don't want to say he teared up, but there was a hiccup in his voice. A vocal artifact.
Oh man!
As long as you live, don't ever ask me.
That man came out of his mother's vagina full grown without a tear on his face.
Well, I don't know about that. I wasn't there for the birth, but I'll take your word for it.
Oh, you haven't watched the documentary?
No.
It's incredible.
So
to get a really close camera angle.
So we're talking about what this movie's about, and we're talking about it's not about progress, and we're talking about how some of his hate, you see it why he hates them, right? There is a cycle of revenge here. Because why did Scar take Debbie and Lucy? Why did he kill Aaron and Martha and Ben? Because white men killed his two sons. And he let his hate and his revenge drive his actions. And so he killed Ethan's family. And Ethan has a diatribe. He has a speech at one point about how he thinks that an engine will go until they think nothing will follow it anymore. But he says their mistake is that they don't know that there is such a creature that'll follow until it won't, that there is something as a creature that will never stop following them. And it's him, right? As sure as the turning of the earth, he will find them, right? And you don't get that way by being motivated by love. You only get that way by being motivated by pure, unadulterated hatred. But now, and what isn't seen in this movie, and what is sort of only alluded to as an imaginary epilogue, not even alluded to, it only exists in my imagination, is there is exactly one person that lives through that raid, right? I'm not saying that there is or isn't, because that's not in the movie, but I'm saying someone lives through that raid, and it starts the cycle anew. Because you can't kill revenge. Someone, of course, it just perpetuates, right? So it will always continue. So it's just like Ethan leads a fucking war raid on the Comanche, and the Comanche now, whatever. Eventually, obviously, this conflict ends, and we don't need to talk about how it ends that way. But I do want to talk to you about something that I've always found interesting about this movie. And when I talk to people about this movie, I always talk to people about the antagonist. And I know that you and I have had this conversation before you had seen the movie. I had talked to you about this because the antagonist of this movie is not the actor who played Scar. It is not the Italian man in the face paint, right? It is the environment. It's the landscape. It's the country. it snows on them and they lose the trail. They spend years wandering dead ends. It's the language barrier. It's the fact that they can only travel so many miles in a day. It's the fact that their horses need to stop to get rest and to have grain. It's the fact that people are trying to kill them. The West is trying to kill them. The West, as a concept, rejects them, trying to find something lost within it, and tries to murder them. You know, Mr. Futterman is the greed of men and tries to kill them, right? Like, all of that happens, and it is about... That is the antagonist. They only go home twice. There is no comforts. They're sleeping on the ground. They're getting rained on. There's no food. You know? And in that time, it's like they find nothing. For years, they find nothing. And they don't like each other's company. They hate each other. One person doesn't like anything in this world. The other person likes one thing in this world, two things in this world, and the person he's traveling with for 6 years wants to kill one of them. That's the source of conflict in this film. It is not this boondoggle of a character they introduce. You know, cicatrice. It's not. It is there because at the end of the day, cowboys kill Indians. Right? That is why it's there. But that's not the point. The point of this movie is, and the movie shows you, look how beautiful this place is. Look how big it is. They have to go all over the place. The movie starts in Texas. It probably goes all over the damn country. West of the Mississippi, probably. It probably goes everywhere.
Okay, you bring this up real quick. I wanted, because this was a vibe I had gotten from the movie, just by the way everything unfolds and the way they travel. It honestly felt like this entire movie took place within like a 100-mile radius, though. It felt like when they learn where Scar and Debbie are, it feels like it's one of those things where it's like, well, I've been here the whole time. I don't know. That was just the vibe I got. And that, like, I didn't get a sense that they were, you know, going to California or Louisiana or Colorado even. It just felt, I don't know. To me, it felt like they were in a much more confined range than that.
I hear you. I think that they... I don't think they're going all over the country like east-west. I think they're going north and south. But still, going all over Texas and New Mexico territory on horse is huge. How big is Texas?
It's big enough to... I could probably throw a pigskin across it.
Yeah, Texas is 268,000 square miles.
Oh, easy.
Yeah, so big.
Easy. Yeah. So you bring up the environment as the antagonist.
Yep.
So I don't want to say I disagree, because I like, you know, the environment and the hostility of it, like, it is an adversary, yes, but to me, it never felt like that's where the emphasis of the movie was. It just kind of seemed, again, kind of just matter of fact, that's how life was if you're a cowboy. It takes a while to get around, yeah. But it just never felt like to me that was the point. I think the closest to it I got was when they are still with Brad Jorgensen, and they are scouting out the Comanche camp. And they're like a quarter mile away, and Brad comes running back, and then he goes to put his boots on, and he like dumps like a gallon of sand out of his boots before he puts them back on. And to me, that was the single moment where I felt most actively that they were being, you know, that the environment and the desert was a character in a way. But it never really, I don't know. I personally felt like the movie was much more focused on John Wayne's Ethan Edwards, to the point where I would say I would consider him an antagonist and Martin more our protagonist. Martin's setting out because his motivation is to save his sister. And the thing he's trying to save her from is his traveling companion. Right?
Yeah.
So I guess to me, that's what it felt more like in that sense, not to say that, wow, you're so wrong, CJ. I totally see where you're coming from, but I guess my read on it was a lot less of emphasis on that. So I feel like I don't have too much to add to that analysis.
I hear you. I wanted to also take a moment to talk about some historical inaccuracies. There are some elements that we just have to accept as being part of Western fiction. One, cowboys rarely, if ever, had encounters with Native Americans. The most common outcome, if a bunch of cowboys were to come upon a group of natives, was that they would ask for a toll, and most often the cowboys would likely pay the toll, and then there would be no conflict, because nobody wants to get into a fight, right? Everyone wants to avoid the fight. It's not the cowboys' money, it's not the whatever, so it is what it is, right? Everyone wants safe passage. So usually, like the scene where they're traveling through the desert, it would not have resulted in a fight when they're with the big party in the beginning of the movie. There usually would have been a toll, something else, and obviously this is just theater. Nobody is stupid enough, certainly not the Comanche Nation at the time, to charge an enemy across a river. That is that is not something that any creature with regard for its own well-being would do. So that is not something that would normally happen. Also, the Comanche did a lot more like surprise. Everything that the Comanche did was about attacking from a position of advantage. So at night, or from the high ground, or on the riverbank, right? They would never charge into water. But in the movie, obviously, we have to put John Wayne and Martin into positions where they can just open fire. So, like, they're across the river bullseyeing people with 6-shooters with no rifling from, 600 yards away. Or they're, just doing crazy maneuvers. So, like, things like that, unrealistic. I don't even think where the movie has the Comanche as being located, that they would have been. Certainly not at that time. So again, we understand there are fictionalized elements of this. This is not a historically accurate picture. I will say there are accounts. This was based on several real accounts of girls, white girls being abducted by the Comanche and being searched for and recovered. And so there is some historical accuracy to that element of it, but I just wanted to mention it because, obviously there is some racism at play when you talk about cowboys and Indians as a trope, as a genre. And I just wanted to mention that while the concept is right, and there were a few accounts of women being abducted or girls being abducted and raised as Native Americans, certainly no Comanche were just charging into the rivers to their deaths.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to add that, this movie, I alluded a little bit to it earlier when I said that, this movie is dated in ways. Some are more cultural, and this movie came out right near the start of the civil rights movement, like 2 or 3 years in. And race in America is a hot button issue and everything like that. And this movie does a lot to kind of show that Scar and Ethan Edwards, that they're one and the same. Scar is not this monster. He is also a man who greets Ethan Edwards into his teepee, and it does a lot to humanize the Comanche and the indigenous people in this movie. But at the same time, this movie kind of betrays that, in that there are multiple moments where, and even plot beats where the there's just a drastic imbalance between how the white people in this movie are portrayed compared to the indigenous, where, for example, Ethan's revenge is pointed at Scar. He is seeking down Debbie. He's, seeking out Scar specifically. Whereas Scar, his sons were killed by white people. So what does Scar do? Well, he goes out and indiscriminately kills white people. He doesn't hunt down the specific man who killed his sons. It's just kind of that generalization of, well, we the white man, we hunt down the man who did it. Whereas those Comanche, they'll just kill indiscriminately if you wrong them. It's just, not balanced there. Also, there's like a couple points where like Mose at one point wasn't the biggest fan of Mose over the whole span of the movie, gonna be honest. Because I feel like he boils down to just like kooky guy. And it's just he is the 1956 equivalent of holds up Spork XD so random.
Okay, yeah, sure.
And there's one point where it's the river scene, and he is imitating the Comanche war cry, and Martin kicks him, and there's like a goofy drum sound effects that plays, and it's just played for comedy. Or later when Martin kicks Look, his Comanche wife, down the hill. Again, a drum sound effect is played. And it's supposed to be a moment that is played to kind of add consequences to their actions, because they drive Look away from them and it leads to her death. They find her body. They find her dead within like a few weeks or so, I believe, or relatively soon after. And it's like, as a direct result of her actions that she was in that place at that time. And you would think, that seems like a very grounded and humbling moment. But when Martin goes to kick her down the hill, again, another goofy drum sound effect plays. It's just played for comedy, the disrespect of them. And then later, like Scar, there's a dog barking, and Scar, like cartoonishly evil, throws a rock at it to silence it with a dog whimpering. And at one point they find some white women who they like rescued from the Comanche, but they're like, the movie portrays them as just like absolutely mentally broken, and they act like animals, just like laughing and like going crazy over a doll. There's like just zero nuance there in the portrayal of, like Debbie, she learns some Comanche and she adopts customs of the culture and she's still herself. But these people were just like straight up turned into mindless beings. And I just feel like the movie, it does so much, but at the same time does fail under a modern lens because of those reasons. And, there's only so much you can like, if that's a deal breaker for people, that's a deal breaker for people. I didn't like that, like those aspects of this movies, and it did mar the experience a bit for me, even though the movie is saying a lot. I don't think it's ruinous of the movie. Like I said, I think it's still a really significant and great film, but I do think that it is worth bringing to attention that it's not all equal in the filmmaking aspect in regards to how the two sides are portrayed.
I would like to jump in here because I want to put some context on how this Western could be considered in the sort of the experience of other Westerns at the time. So John Wayne's obviously known for making Westerns. Everybody knows him for making Westerns. He's the Western guy, right? It's almost impossible to imagine him without a cowboy hat on. And so put this into perspective when I tell you this is one of the first, maybe the first time that a major Western, maybe a Western period, tackled racism and discrimination at all. In that John Wayne was just not 100% right. He was not a white knight riding in, you know what I mean? That
right.
His racism is kind of gross.
Right.
That
and
people
I
do
agree,
find
like,
it. Yeah.
Yes, I agree. The movie goes through great lengths to portray that and does a great job in saying like, no, John Wayne is wrong in doing this. Like, he is the cautionary tale to Martin.
Yeah. He, at one point, is trying to motivate Martin to feel like him by telling Martin that on Scar's pole is Martin's mother's scalp. And Martin says that doesn't change anything. That, if that's the truth, it doesn't matter. If it's a lie, it only builds up Ethan's character more. Because the outcome is the same. He's only telling Martin that to manipulate him into making Martin feel the way that Ethan does.
Mm-hmm.
To make him feel as angry as Ethan does. To make him be as hateful as Ethan does. And Martin doesn't. Because Ethan's racism and discrimination is frowned upon. It is not accepted. And people reject him for it. Which, going back to the door, is why the door closes on him. Because there's no life for him inside there.
Mm-hmm.
This is where everyone went. There's no more room for you. Right? You killed everyone, Ethan. You did it. Ultimately, he did it. He killed everyone. The only one he didn't kill was Debbie. The only one he said he was going to kill that he didn't kill. He killed them all, damn it. And he fucking... And now what? They're all gone. Now you get to wander the desert. So, I will say that. I'll also say that in the context of this, Westerns at this time, and you have to imagine movies, Westerns, and musicals are family experiences. They're get in the car, we're going to the drive-in, or we're going to go to the movies, right? These are, you go with the kids. So you have to put in some of this stuff. Do I agree that it hampers the movie? Yes. If John Ford was alive right now, would he edit them? Probably.
Wow, you're saying John Ford is on the same level as George Lucas?
No. I'm saying if he had the opportunity to take out some of the... Right? Would he? Maybe. Like, if he knew that this picture would be viewed as important as it was all these years later? Yes. The other thing that I'll say... John Ford and John Wayne built the archetype of what a Western was. And it's the stranger comes into town from out of town, and he's going to solve the problem. He's going to kill the brown people, and he's going to walk out with his chin held high and the woman on his arm. And all the problems are going to be saved, right? He doesn't shoot people in the back. He's an honorable man. He drinks whiskey straight, and... Right? They built this character. They built the archetype that every Western up until The Searchers was. And that's what they did. The Indians were evil and the cowboys were good. Unambiguous. No buts about it. Even in times where it's like, well, I gotta look up the date for this one movie. Hang on. Because this will really further my point. So there's a movie called Hondo, okay? Hondo is based on a Louis L'Amour book or story called The Gift of the Cochise. And what's really actually notable about this movie was that it was filmed for 3D. And they had this massive camera. It was like a ton. It took 8 guys, like pallbearers, carrying it out into the desert. And if there's a couple scenes in the movie, if you and I ever watch it, it's really funny. Where they just like stab the camera for effect. Just like there's just weird 3D stuff, right? There's like one scene that really makes use of it. And the movie is about a guy who wanders in and he's thirsty and whatever, and there's some Native Americans that are encountering a single woman and her son. The Native Americans take interest in the boy, and they're going to have him do some... It's the Apache. The Apache are going to induct him in the ways of the Apache. And then Hondo is going to come and solve the problems. Hondo finds the man who is the father and the husband, and he's a deadbeat. So he ends up taking over and solving all the problems. And even though he speaks Apache, even though he has some reverence for the Apache ways, and even though he actually knows enough to like keep the boy alive and everything, ultimately... He joins the army in slaughtering them all, and at the end of the movie has one line that says, that's the end for the Apache. That's the end of the Apache way. Too bad. It's a good way. Riders, ho! And they fucking kill them all. So fast forward 3 years later, and it's not like that, right? So just the difference in what 3 years makes. How even when it's like you're paying any respect to the culture at all, even in just saying, "Oh, hey, guys. Hey. Padgeway was not that bad." It's like, yeah, we're still gonna kill him, right? It's like, this is like, so John Ford and John Wayne then took that archetype that they spent all those years building and that made John Wayne rich. And in this movie, they dismantled it. They put a character in the same situation and changed the parameters, and he leaves, not a pariah, but he leaves not the hero. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He is, I want to kind of transition into one other thing real quick. It's going to sound unrelated at first, but CJ, quick, what's the most romantic song you can think of?
My Heart Will Go On.
No, the answer was Skip to the Maloo, my darling.
Oh.
Because that is the song Charlie McCory sings to court Lori. And, this whole love triangle plot line, when I watched it with you, I was unsure of its relevance. I was like, why is this really here other than to ground these characters back to, society? Even on that first rewatch, I wasn't wholly sure, but just to other people that they can pop in and talk to and kind of give us a framing. But like we just talked about, John Wayne is trying to manipulate Martin into being like him, into this way of life. And John Wayne serves as this cautionary tale where he was likely in a situation similar 8 years ago before the Civil War, where he was in love with Martha, his brother's wife, Erin, and he ended up abandoning this shot at life with her to go and join the Civil War. And Martin is at risk throughout this entire movie of abandoning his shot at a life in society with Lori and settling down because he's so bent on continuing to search with Ethan. And he's so close to throwing it all away and becoming this wandering pariah of the desert like Ethan is. Mm-hmm. But it's like Ethan, seeing the monster that Ethan is what brings him back and has him, there's the other part, Charlie McCory, he fucking hates Charlie McCory. So that's a bit of motivation too. Even though Charlie McCory is the best character, I'll thank you to have my fancy. He's the best.
Right.
But, going back to what you were talking about, he's not a good dude. This movie is, to me, at least above all, this cautionary tale of you can't let this quest for vengeance consume you because you will throw away your life to it. It is a futile pursuit. This odyssey of revenge. It grants you nothing in the end except misery. The misery you've lived in setting out on that path and walking that path.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you mentioned Martha, and we touched on it briefly, but man, what a performance between the two of them. You said you went and looked up the screenplay, which I find so fascinating. Just for the audience's sake.
Yeah.
The two characters do not interact. I believe they do not have dialogue. I believe they do have a scene where he says thank you. I don't believe they have much spoken beyond that.
Not really. They talk a little bit at the start, where they're like, oh, just like greetings. But yeah, other than that, it's a lot of just longing looks. I actually pulled a few quotes from the screenplay, if you don't mind me reading them.
Go ahead.
These are just in between blurbs, building out this relationship between Ethan and Martha that I thought were really striking. Yeah. These are on pages 3 to 18 of the screenplay, very early on. His eyes shift to Martha and hold. Ethan is, and always has been, in love with his brother's wife, and she with him. That's in one passage. Another one. She stands alone, looking after Ethan, his coat in her arms. She holds it against her breast for just a moment, and her eyes are tender. Another one. During this, Ethan's attention is gone to Martha's hand, to one cut finger, its wound barely healed. He takes the hand, gently. And then another one, I think this was my favorite one. Ethan will enter the room from the inner door, unnoticed by the other men, but not by Martha. The audience must always be conscious of the byplay of glances between Martha and Ethan as they face the prospect of being left in this house together.
Yeah.
What a great line.
I was really torn on whether or not I was going to tell you to pay attention. Because not that I don't think you would have caught it, but it is easy to miss.
I'm going to be honest. I think that this is a movie. If you could watch this on a big screen in a theater, that is the best place to watch this movie because 100%. You will be able to see these, the subtext of their relationship so much more clearly just by matter of it being bigger and easier to see their facial expressions.
Yeah. No, I agree. But it is, if on every subsequent viewing, it is so obvious to me. I mean, I just watch them. I don't even listen to the dialogue at the beginning because it doesn't matter. Like, it is just establishing the rest of the movie, but just watching them on screen together and just watching how they interact and finding that so remarkable, because again, it's not spoken. It's not. It is something that you have to divine from watching, but you totally feel it, And I almost feel like Aaron knows.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I think there was a little bit of hinting at like his uneasiness towards Ethan. Yeah, Ethan slowly, stiffly swings out of the saddle. Aaron and Martha exchange quick glances, troubled, puzzled. Aaron pastes on an uncertain smile as Ethan comes around his horse towards their side. Like, there's a lot of tension between Ethan and his brother. Even his brother kind of like lightly accusing him, like, where the fuck did you get these coins, man? They don't have a minted date on.
Yeah. There's not a mark on them. What are you saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's
all
crazy.
Those little moments that like help build out the character. I wrote a review for this on Letterboxd, and something I said was almost every scene in this movie is really padded out with characters of substance. There are so many little things about each character that hint to their motivations and what type of person they are, be it the nonverbal cues of the actors or just things that people say in passing. There's so much thought and care that went into making sure all of this wove together very neatly.
Did you ever play Banjo-Kazooie?
Yeah.
Did you ever play ukulele?
No, but I am familiar.
So the main difference so basically, if you don't know, Banjo-Kazooie was made by Rareware in the 90s. Ukulele was made by some of the developers of Rare, who got together years later to make like a spiritual successor. And while some of the charm was there, one of the things that I think was missing was that in Banjo, it always felt like the characters that were in the levels felt like they belonged in the levels. Like, you would encounter a camel in the desert level, or you would encounter the bee in the spring level. Like, you would encounter characters that made sense for them. There would be a shark in the beach level, right? A crab. Like, who would be at this beach? A crab. In ukulele, it's like, oh, who's at the Monster Mansion? Oh, it's the washing machine lady. Oh, and the snake. Cool. Who's at the airplane? It's the washing machine lady and the snake. Oh.
Matt, they're fucking everywhere. What the hell?
Yeah, it felt like those, and to your point, it felt like those characters were just tacked in, but they didn't belong there. It felt like they were copy-pasted into scenes that they didn't belong in. And something I really appreciate, especially the more that I get older, is like, hey, listen, can you insert a character in the scene that doesn't need to be in it, but that adds to it? because that is just as challenging as shooting a scene with just the core number of characters. Remember the scene in the movie when Martin is eating dinner? It's like, okay, Martin's eating dinner. Why do we need to see Martin eating dinner? Martin is eating dinner, and there's the lady playing the castanets.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like trying to seduce him, and he's not interested. He's just hungry. And then she ultimately
she just sits down and takes food too.
A nice light moment before what is ultimately the big reveal for that part of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, nice. I like that. They inserted two characters, didn't need to be there, added something to the movie, and it made that little area, that little haunt, feel alive. It made it feel like a little Mexican outpost.
100%. It just makes the world feel so much more lived in. It makes everyone feel more realized, you know?
Yeah, that place is Dearth. We talked about it. The funeral had 20 people. That's the 20 people that live within 100 miles of that place, right? There's nothing around. Seriously, they live in the middle of nowhere. They're pioneers. They're frontiersmen. They live out in the middle of nowhere. They're roughing it. Mm-hmm. But here they are, right? It still feels lived in somehow. Charlie McCoy shows up on a horse and buggy with a letter.
Oh, I love Charlie McCoy so much.
He came a-courtin'.
Yeah, he did. He did. Yeah.
So, I think those are my major film analysis points. Before we get into some of our usual, maybe not lesser, but more of our anecdotal or... I'm saying anecdotal or comparative analysis.
All right. So here's what CJ's really saying, everybody. CJ's saying we've crossed off all the things that CJ added to the show notes and all of the serious things I have to the show notes. And all that's left are the slop questions I ask CJ that are really goofy.
No.
I'm going to be honest. We do have some shows in our catalog that have gone down that way where like the last 20 minutes are me just asking you a bunch of random questions. I think the Batman episode's a great example. I do have a few other questions of note that I wanted to ask on an analysis side.
Yeah.
First, when, if ever, did Debbie change her mind on leaving? Because when we first meet her, you know, there's the reveal where she's the one holding the scalps. And then Martin and Ethan go and they're down by a riverbed by a dune. And then she runs out to them.
Yeah.
And she runs out to them pretty much to say, leave. I don't want to leave. You go. I'm not leaving. Later in the movie, we don't see Debbie at all between then and what's about to happen. When Martin sneaks into the camp to try and save Debbie before
the raid.
Before John Wayne, before the raid. She's like, "Oh, Martin, thank God you're here. Oh, okay, let's leave." What happened there? What caused her to change her mind so much? What?
I have always had a problem with that scene, but I've interpreted it as the alternative is that they're going to murder the whole village. You know? Like, that's where I have to let the movie be the movie. The alternative is, hey, we've come to kill everyone here. Either we save you or we don't and you die. Do you want to die? Let's save you. And then I
didn't really get that vibe from that.
I didn't get the vibe either, but that's the logical outcome of what comes next, right? If the raid goes through as planned, they say we're not going to be choosy with who we shoot. They make a point of saying that, right?
Okay.
So that's how I've gotten over it in the movie. Like, I agree with you. Well, I don't know why she made that change, because the movie had to end is probably the real answer. But, yeah, that's how I've gotten around it in my headcanon.
Okay.
I do agree.
Wow, jumping over hurdles. Wow.
Yeah, I know. Damn.
That to me is just genuinely probably the weakest part of the whole story is Debbie kind of flip-flopping like that.
Yeah, because the only reason she doesn't go with him the first time was because it would end the movie too fast.
Yeah, it kind of feels that way.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you that if you had any read on the situation. The second thing is, when did Ethan change his mind? When do you think Ethan changed his mind from wanting to kill Debbie to saving her in the end?
Okay. I have my theory, but I don't know.
I'd love to hear it. I also don't know. I have like 2 perspective points that I'm unsure of.
I have a theory in that when he tried to manipulate Martin and it didn't work.
And for context, you mean this is when...
That was your mom's scalp.
Okay, that part, not later on with the will?
Yeah. Well, because he says that to him when it's the dark and he's about to go down, right? Like the day of the raid. He tries to get him to stop. And he's like, that don't change nothing. I've always thought that was it. Because that was the final shot that he had. It's like, if I can't convince him that she's worth killing as an honor killing, here, maybe I just can't. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think it ever occurred to him that he's wrong. I don't think that, by the way. I'm just like, he has to think something. I don't know what he thinks, but yeah, I don't know. It's hard. That's my only estimate for what it could be, though.
Okay. To me, I think there are 2 possible spots. I think the first spot is just in that moment when he saves her. Because he lifts her, like she's on the ground and he lifts her up above his head. And there's a musical swell calling back to the beginning of the movie when he picks up Debbie and she's a little girl. So I was like, oh, is it like, he's remembering then? Oftentimes in media, the breaking point for someone on a path of revenge is when they are finally confronted with the end point of their goal. Like it's they are motivated getting their gun to the person's forehead and their finger on the trigger. But the hard part is pulling the trigger, right? Yeah. I felt like it could have been kind of like that. Akin to something like, I won't use that analogy because it kind of spoils that game. But that was one. But the one that I feel is most likely in my mind is when Ethan reads his will to Martin. Or was it vice versa? Yeah, Ethan reads it to Martin?
Yes. No, Martin reads it to Ethan.
Out loud.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I feel like it was that moment when Ethan's like, I'm giving you everything. You're like, it was almost like he was trying to induct him into the boys club, right? You're just like me. Here's all my stuff. You're all I got. And it was supposed to be like in to the fragile masculinity of Ethan Edwards, like showing the slightest bit of vulnerability to a male companion who's his foster nephew who he disowned is him saying, I got no one else, so here's you in my will. And Martin straight up rejects it. Martin's like, no, fuck you. I don't want anything to do with your will. I don't want anything to do with the type of person you are. You are horrible. And to me, I feel like that was probably the moment where John Wayne is kind of like, damn, he doesn't want my horse? Shit, maybe I'm in a bad way. So I feel like to me that was, but again, that was something that was a bit unclear to me. So I was just curious where you thought.
Yeah, I think after hearing what you said, I can see, I almost agree with you now.
With which one? The will or when he lifts Debbie?
Yeah.
Okay. I could totally, like, especially if you go back to that scene, because I did rewatch it, even after I would watch the movie the second time. And there is a musical swell there that's like, it's almost like it's supposed to be a moment when he lifts her up above her head,
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to bring up was what the only other Western we've watched so far for this show. The first other Western that we watched for this show.
Okay.
Tombstone, because we did watch Wild Wild West. We can't forget that.
I can.
The first Western we watched was Tombstone, and I had some issues with Wyatt Earp in that story because he's not necessarily portrayed as a straight up good dude, which is great. I love a main character with nuance. both Wyatt Earp and Ethan Edwards certainly have that. I
Right.
definitely think. But my issue that I really had with Tombstone was it's a happy ending for Wyatt Earp. He gets to go live on room service with his affair partner. And the ending is very saccharine and sympathetic towards Wyatt Earp and makes it just be like, the good guys did it. The good guy gets to go live off happily while his layabout wife dies 2 years later.
Mm.
And in this movie, when we were first watching it, I was making some notes and I was like, this is a horrible guy, John Wayne. Why is the movie humanizing him in these ways with giving him this failed romance plot and everything? And it was only then upon rewatch where I realized, like, it's not there to make us feel for him. It's to make us realize how much he's thrown his life away due to how much he hates these indigenous people and the Comanches specifically.
Mm.
It's there to bolster him as this figure to not aspire to, because look what he could have had, but he does not, because he lives his life in pursuit of violence and vengeance against people who don't even know he exists necessarily. Like, he might just show up at a camp and start shooting. Like, in my mind, I could see him rolling up to a camp and just start shooting indiscriminately, like how Scar does in this movie. Because again, they really try and paint him and Scar as parallels, even though it's not one for one, as I went through earlier. But he has lost himself to this. We see what he could have, but he has lost it. So I did want to call out, like, I really appreciated that aspect of this movie. He walks off into the desert at the end. He does not get his happy ending.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I agree with you.
I enjoyed that. Something I did want to bring up is I was really fucking with Martin.
Okay.
But Martin's like second to last big scene. It's right when they get to the wedding and he's learned you're engaged to Charlie McCory. It's right before he learns she's engaged to Charlie McCory.
Mm-hmm.
And Martin is just such a manipulative sack of shit in this moment. He shows this reserve towards Ethan Edwards' ways throughout, and his pillar of, I need to go with to save my sister. I am searching with her so that this other guy searching for her won't kill her when he finds her. And he becomes more and more cemented in that way throughout. And you can really see him kind of like grow and see this cautionary tale. It's not like this cautionary tale is just there for the audience. Martin sees it. He said he rejects everything Ethan Edwards is. Yeah. And I really enjoyed it. But then he fucking guilt trips the shit out of Lori. She's like, you only wrote me once in 5 years. And he's like, yeah. Or first she's like, I haven't even heard of you. He's like, I wrote you one letter. And she's like, yeah, one letter in 5 years. And you didn't even say I love you. And he goes, but I always loved you. Thought you knew without me having to say it. Fuck off, dude. And then she straight up says, that isn't fair. And he goes, I wish you wouldn't cry, Lori. And then he goes, well, I reckon the best thing for me to do is to go away. And like, it works. She's like, no, don't go. And like, he ends up with her. And it's just like, oh, come on. I was really fucking with Martin and they just went and made him unlikable in one scene.
I don't know if they made him unlikable, but they did make him 1950s man instantly. So.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. So I agree with you there. It is supposed to be touching, and it's supposed to set up the fight with Charlie McCory, which I did enjoy. So
I did enjoy it, yes. Another little moment I wanted to call out. This movie has an off-screen kill that probably would be a world record at the time for longest distance kill in history. Because this is when Brad Jorgensen is alive. This is, we're still on like the first act, or I guess this movie kind of, I feel like has like a 5-act structure instead of a 3-act structure. So like we're in like the second act or so. Brad Jorgensen and Ethan and Marty are all out together. They find the camp. It's the scene I mentioned earlier where Brad dumps all the sand out of his boot. And this is when John Wayne breaks the news to Brad about Lucy, because Brad's like, Lucy's got to be in that camp. We got to go find her. And Ethan's like, she's not going to be in that camp, Pilgrim. And he tells him about what happened. So when Brad was the scout who went out to see the camp, get the lay of the land. He's like, we're a quarter mile away. And once Ethan tells him this stuff, Brad immediately starts running to the camp. Within Ethan and Martin are like, no, wait, stop, don't go. Within 5 seconds of him running or riding away from the camp, there are gunshots and he dies. We don't see him die. He dies off screen, but there are gunshots and we see the look on Ethan and Martin's face of damn, he went and got himself killed. So these dudes killed him from a quarter mile away, because it's not like he's covering that much ground within 5 seconds of starting to ride. They knew they were there. They had a Colt and Wesson, just iron sights set straight on him. Goddamn Saving Private Ryan moment. My Lord.
They did get him. He was Vin Diesel in the rain.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good scene. Heartbreaking scene, man. The last thing I wanted to kind of talk about analysis-wise was this movie. Another downside to me, and again, I'm kind of nitpicking here. Like I said before, by and large, great movie. I just have a really hard time with Westerns at times, because this movie, I felt like there wasn't much tension throughout. I feel like there's a scene where the tension is mounted masterfully. Incredible. It's the scene when they're in the big group early on. They find the empty camp and then they keep pushing forward. And it's as they're riding down this trail in a column of a dozen horses. It's right before the river scene. This ambush is slowly revealed around them. We see a Comanche ride up on the ridge, and then him kind of ride parallel to them, but behind, watching. And then on the other side, another line of Comanche are on the other ridge. They reveal themselves. Then they ride down, and they're on both sides of them, 100 feet back, just watching them. And it's so tense, and it's so well shot. And then when Ethan Edwards and co make their break, it's like we go from this really intensely shot scene to all of a sudden they're riding into the river. It's a wide of about 50 dudes on horseback, and there's just gun smoke and gunshots and dudes and horses falling over. And I'm like, this is not a gratifying payoff to that tension at all. I immediately, all tension just left the building. I am no longer gripped like I was. All I'm seeing is dudes just falling over with zero investment in the action that's going on. And I talked about this a bit with Tombstone. It's my issue with Westerns is the payoff is almost never, it almost never delivers on the amount of tension that builds up. And it's just, it's something I really struggle with. And this movie didn't get any passes from me in that regards. It was just another thing that I kind of struggled with in terms of trying to accept the movie for what it is. Mm-hmm. And it's just, I had to call it out just because I wanted to be consistent with my criticisms of Westerns in the past. And this, I feel, has the same issues as Tombstone in that regard. Yeah,
I totally hear what you're saying. I don't have that problem, but I know that Westerns are kind of an issue for you. So I have kept that in mind. And it was a consideration when I picked the movie. So,
Well, I'm glad you picked it. I wanted to ask, do you have any favorite specific scenes or performances in this movie?
I think in general, I like quotes better than specific scenes.
Okay.
As sure as the turning of the earth is a good one. Our bones have to be buried in the earth is a good one.
Yeah. I want to get that fucking quote tattooed across my forehead.
Well, maybe not the forehead, but it's a good quote.
Wow. Who are you to tell me what to do with my body?
I meant for me. I like the scene. I like the scenes where it's Laurie and Martin. I do like those. Those are fun. And I like, I think my favorite scene is, the one where they're clearly on a soundstage and the late Mr. Futterman ambushes them.
Yes.
But I also really love when they're reading the letter.
Mm.
The letter Martin wrote. I love that frame story.
Using that as a framing device, yeah.
Yeah. So, what about you?
My favorite scene is the one where they meet Debbie for the first time and she runs to them. The way that scene plays out, just from the way it's shot, like Martin and John Wayne are down in this riverbed with this giant dune behind them, and the dune is in the shot like almost wholly this entire time. And they're talking about what they're going to be doing next and talking about Debbie. And we just see, you know, as their conversation kind of lulls and they're just kind of like they're moseying about. We see the silhouette of Debbie crest on top of the dune, and like the music kind of flutters a little bit. And she starts running down, and it's all one continuous take of Debbie running down to Martin. And then there's just this incredibly composed shot once she gets down to him, where she and Martin are on one side of the river and John Wayne is on the other. And the camera's kind of behind John Wayne and we're kind of seeing what he's looking at. And there's just this like kind of footbridge of dirt over the river. And Martin is just standing in front of her. And John Wayne's just pointing his gun at the both of them. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, oh, what a great moment of conflict. It's like the first time we really get to see actionable conflict between John Wayne and Martin.
Yeah.
And it's just really well done. And the music in this scene is terrific as well. And like I said, just the shot composition is beautiful in that moment. So I really like that. But you called out a scene that I actually made a note of while I was watching the movie the second time. I made a bunch of notes on my phone. I watched it on my couch. I got nice and comfy under the blanket with the dogs cuddled on me. And I made a note that scene with John Futterman, was it John Futterman? Am I just throwing John in there because everyone's named John in these movies?
I don't know what his first name was. I just know him as Futterman.
Okay. When Futterman ambushes them at the camp, and pretty much from when they arrived to Futterman's, that whole interaction until the end of the ambush from Futterman, I said to myself, this is the scene that made me realize how great this movie is. That was the one scene that was like my turning point where my brain switched from like, what is this movie really going for, to like, oh fuck, this kind of fucking rules. The attention to detail is so on display in those two scenes back to back of them talking with Futterman and then Futterman, you know, John Wayne knowing what's coming and all this stuff. And you might maybe like not really realizing what he's up to and treating Martin so nice. But like all of the pieces are there in that, even the conversation with Futterman to begin with, like the way they talk about the money and like the fact that John Wayne mentions and Futterman mentioned that the reward is $1,000. So Futterman thinks he's carrying the $1,000 on him. So that's why he was going to rob him.
Yeah.
Just, yeah, what a great scene. One other question I wanted to ask, who had the best horse of all these guys?
It's got to be the horse that Martin gets from Lori when he leaves her the second time.
Is that the horse that's like tan with the black hair?
Yeah. Kind
of looks like Spirit from Spirit, Horse of the Silmarillion or some shit.
Cimarron, yeah.
Yeah. That is also my answer. Martin's Spirit horse.
Yeah.
Great horse. Great horse.
Yeah, great horse. All right. Did I overhype the movie for you?
Yeah, you said near the end. I hope I didn't overhype it.
Yeah.
I think on the first watch, I thought you overhyped it. On the second watch, I get it. I get it. I get why you feel how you feel about this movie. I get it.
Good. I was close.
I'm really glad I did the rewatch. We are living in an alternate timeline where I came into this ready to just be the world's biggest shit-eating grin hater. Ready to talk about this movie. But
I was worried. I thought you weren't going to like it. In my prediction, I said you weren't going to like it.
Really?
I said I thought you would like the technical aspects of it. I think you might appreciate that it's good, but I said I don't think you were going to enjoy it. I'm pretty sure that's what I said.
Yeah, I can understand why you would think that, because like I said, I do think having the context that surrounds this movie, especially from a Western perspective, really paints the experience that you have.
Yeah. And like there is something to be said, when people used to watch like classic, terrestrial television, like linear television.
Wait, hold on. As opposed to what? Martian television?
Shut up. Linear television. When they would do that and they'd watch Turner Classic Movies, and before they would play the movie, they would have someone sit there and kind of give context about the movie. Like who made the movie, and what are sort of what is the situation around the movie, and how did this movie get made, and what's the context? And I think that some of that gets lost in that, we just don't have that as a digital feature in a lot of our media anymore. Like you're relying on like a lot of podcasts, and you're relying on other things to bring you that supplemental, whereas before it was a part of the experience of watching a broadcast. So I think we're losing some of that. And will it affect how people view this movie? When AFI did, the American Film Institute did the top 100 American films in 1998, The Searchers was number 97. And when they redid it, I believe the year they redid it was 2007 when they re-updated it. And it went from... The Searchers went from 97 to 12. Or 96 to 12. In just that short amount of time. It's just because of how people view that movie. Like it does require the context. It does require, it requires some understanding, and it requires an appreciation of what came before and what came after, So, plus the song is a banger.
the song that plays at the start and the end.
Yeah.
Why don't you sing it for us a little bit?
What makes a man to wander? Like that.
Oh, yeah. Kill it.
Yeah. Oh, tight. Yeah.
But yeah, no, to summarize, like, great movie. Definitely, I don't know if challenging is the right word, but maybe just not as an accessible of a watch to someone who, I was born in 96, so the era of the Western is well before my time, and it's not something that I would be exposed to so much as the little that I already was through my family. Like, I can only imagine.
Hold up. I'm born in 93. It's not like I was born in the era of the Western.
Right, no, but I'm speaking like, no, but I'm speaking like you were raised in a family where the Western was very a cornerstone of the media you consume.
Okay,
and I'm speaking like my experience is probably a bit more standard in that, or even still advanced compared to many. Like most of my friends, granted they aren't the biggest film buffs, but even some friends of mine who I have who are big film buffs, I don't think Westerns are a huge part of the media that they've consumed or use as a cultural touchstone to compare things to. I think it's just similar to how I bet kids born in 2050 are gonna not understand why, for example, I don't know, trying to think of an MCU movie that really subverts what it did and just on the surface might appear kind of cookie cutter, but
what, like Iron
us
Man?
Living in the moment. Yeah, maybe.
Well, the original Iron Man changed everything, so...
Yeah. Maybe it could be a moment like that where they might not be able to fully grasp the significance and excellence of Iron Man without doing a bit more research into what the landscape was, what comic book movies were like in 2008 before Iron Man released, and the impact that it had. So, yeah. But something I wanted to ask, though, CJ, could you have done The Searchers?
Nope. I think
Just
I would
flat
get.
out.
I think I would get chafe from riding a horse.
Yeah. I would not be the biggest fan.
Yeah. But I think I could be the Reverend, just not marry somebody, then get stabbed in the ass. Yeah, I think I could do it.
Yeah, okay, how about that? That was kind of a weird note to end the movie on.
Yeah,
again, one of the penultimate scene is them looking up the Reverend's ass.
They gotta fucking end it on they gotta make it funny, dude. I'm telling you.
Frickin', damn. All the goddamn Joss Whedon poisoning our minds with quip culture, ruining the Searchers too.
Jesus Christ. All right. So,
well,
is the film okie dokie?
I would say yes. This film is okie dokie.
This is a big moment for me.
Wow.
This is okie dokie. So 2 thumbs up, 2 okie dokies. That's great. I don't want to rush, but I do see the time, and I do have to go. So we're going to do the expedited version of the Rec Room.
All right.
So you go first.
All right, I got 2 movies to rec. The first movie is The Green Knight. It's a 2021 movie starring Dev Patel. It's an
Great movie.
Arthurian. You've seen The Green Knight?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
We talked about it the other day.
Oh, yeah, we did. Great movie. Arthurian legend about Gawain and the Green Knight, and it has so much to say about the idea of pursuing goodness versus greatness and legacy in your life. Really good movie. It's very metaphorical, very mythical. So if you're into kind of weird off-kilter movies with a lot of visual metaphor, it's great for that. The other movie I wanted to recommend is The Iron Giant, a childhood classic of mine that I recently rewatched with Jade, who had never seen it. This movie just leaves me a mess every time. I cry. Jade and I were at Thanksgiving. She had never seen it, and I was just telling her about the movie, and I was crying at her family's Thanksgiving, just talking about the movie to her. So emotional. Hits me every time in the heartstrings. Great movie about a boy who finds an extraterrestrial iron giant and befriends it. CJ, what have you got to recommend today?
Not to be a cold, heartless bastard, I've seen The Iron Giant once, and I did not like it.
Man, you suck.
As a kid, I didn't like it.
Oh, you got to revisit it.
Maybe. I am recommending to you all Gartic Phone because I played that for the first time with the Gazebo the other day, and that was a lot of fun. That is a game. You can play that right in Discord with your friends, and it is like Telephone meets Drawful, and that's all I'm going to say. It's a really fun time. I am also going to recommend The Muppets Take Manhattan, which after The Muppets Christmas Carol, which has had a meteoric rise in how in its rankings of my favorite Muppet movies, The Muppets Take Manhattan is my now second favorite Muppet movie, and it is irreverent and funny and has a very, very sad song that always makes me tear up. And whenever I need to cry, I listen to that song and it always gets the job done. So Muppets Take Manhattan, ladies and gentlemen, great movie, great Muppet movie if you're into the Muppets. And yeah, so that is the expedited version of the Rec Room. And now that our tour de force on revenge is over, Tommy.
Yes, tour de force.
Yes.
See what I did there?
What are we watching next time on the Film is Okie Dokie?
All right. Well, CJ, I don't know if you knew this, but The Searchers was actually part 1 of our duology on searching and pursuing. Because next time on the Film is Okie Dokie, we are watching Midnight Run.
I have never heard of this movie.
And that is the experience most people have with this movie. So I am choosing it because more people need to know about this movie.
Midnight Run, you said.
Midnight Run. It is Charles Grodin and Robert De Niro.
Okay, interesting.
It's
fun fact: Charles
movie.
Grodin is the dad from Beethoven.
Yes,
and
that's the main thing I know him from.
He was the security guard in the Muppets Go to Disney World special on ABC.
Wow. Well, look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that, full circle. Well, thank you everybody for listening. CJ, you got anything to add?
I'm just really happy you like The Searchers.
Me too. As always, like us, rate us, whatever you do, wherever you get your podcasts. Join the Okie Dokie Discord server. CJ something something, Bomani Jones something something, Wave Sportsnet something something, Hater. I've been Tommy.
I've been CJ. You did pretty okay, getting only every third word. And
Thank you.
we'll talk to you next time.
On The Film is Okie Dokie.
On Film is Okay. Bye.
Oh, bye.
Ah,
Bye.
I tip fine, by the way.
I made a calculator.
No, you didn't.